Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Very Vehicular. As always, I am your host, Brian Scotto. Today's guest is the youngest and most controversial we've ever had on the show, and it is also my first time ever speaking to this person. Yep, we have Alex Choi on today. You may know him best from the infamous stunts he's been involved with, some of which have landed him in jail and hit with federal charges. We talk about those and actually a lot of the regrets he has around that entire phase of his life. And then we get into this new pivot for him that brings him into an entirely different space that I have to say can be a bit disturbing and really heavy when we talk about it. So, yeah, it's an interesting conversation and one you're going to need to strap in for. Enjoy it. Oh, and one thing, just a warning for everybody, we do get into some conversations around fatal car accidents. It might get a little gruesome at moments, and it might not be suitable for everybody, so please use a little discretion. Thank you. Choi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So this is kind of a first for both of us, it sounds like, because this is the first time I've had someone on the show that I didn't have like a previous relationship with and spoke a lot to. And this is apparently one of your first podcasts, huh?
Yeah, actually, I lied when I told you that. I did one podcast like 6 or 7 years ago. Okay. But yeah, this is like, I never agree to podcasts. Like at least once a year, somebody like, notable asked me for a podcast, but like.
Why don't you normally agree?
I hate being put on the spot. Like there's like a lot of questions that I feel like the public asks and like I avoid to answer.
Right.
But like I just never want to be put on the spot. And like I've been done dirty by like a lot of like news reporters or like
yeah.
They'll like hey, like, can we interview about this? And then they'll come to my house and like, why are you so terrible? And I'm like, and then that airs and I'm like, great.
Did they start that way or did
no,
they like?
Not at all. Yeah. I get done so dirty by like, a lot of news reporters. So I'm just scarred. Like I never agree to news interviews unless it's like a close friend of mine. Like I have a lot of friends in the news industry, right? And like if they ask to do an interview, I've done a lot of those. Right. But if it's like a stranger or like some random publication, no.
I got gotcha'd once. I'll tell the story real fast.
Okay.
We do the Gymkhana films. We had Shutdown Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I
get the reason why I'm into cars in the first place.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll get to that. But I get a phone call from like I don't even remember what news channel it was, and they said, "Hey, we're doing a special on filming in Los Angeles and how it's such a big industry." And I was like, "Well, I'm going on vacation with my fiance at the time," and they said, "Well, is there any way we can get your availability?" So like we're up in Pismo camping. I like set up, a Zoom with them to do this call, right? And like during our little camping trip that we're going up to Big Sur, and they asked me, I don't know, 10 questions. And the first 9 questions are the most benign questions about how we shoot things.
Yeah.
And then the 10th question was, do you think you should be responsible for all of the taxpayers' money that's lost by you shutting down the streets in Los Angeles while you guys film your car videos? And I was like, what?
I was expecting you to say, are you responsible for all the street racers?
Oh, no. They went after this from like because it was attacking Hollywood for filming in LA. And my reply was, well, you live in Hollywood. Like, this is Tinseltown. It's what makes the city go around. If you don't like traffic created by filming, maybe you shouldn't live here. And then they only used that excerpt, and it became this like bash on Hollywood. And then they pulled a photo of my wife, who was on production with us, doing a handstand on the closed 710. And it said, "Sorry, not sorry, road closed." And it was like, the productions of LA don't even care about you. And it became this entire slam piece. I was like, all right, I'm not going to do this.
Like, anymore. As you know, like in editing, like you can turn somebody into a devil just from editing, right? Yeah. It's like, that's what I'm scarred from. And
well, you did get into a bit of trouble that like became a big...
All the time. Yeah, I've gone into trouble all the time. But like, I know that like people are going to come up to me and like, ask me 9 completely benign questions and bring that up, and then I'm put on the spot, and that's the only thing.
Well,
they're
they
gonna air.
softened you the whole time, and you think it's about something else, and then they only use the last question.
No, and that's also the big reason. Like I've gotten my fair share of trouble, right? So I don't want to answer that.
It's funny when you when you actually look up your name online, you are listed as a controversial automotive influencer. Is that how you see yourself?
Sadly, but yeah.
Do you think what you do is controversial, or do you think it's just sort of seen that way?
Definitely like what I did when I was a lot younger, 100%. Terrible. Terrible. Now I feel like I'm getting a lot more mellower and like learning from my mistakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. Like the things I've done, like I look back now and I'm like, how am I not in prison? And how does everyone not hate me? And like I get so embarrassed. Like recently I actually went back on my YouTube channel and like deleted like 90% of old videos, and I'm like, how did I didn't even have a gun to my head, like how did I upload this on my own will,
Yeah.
So
when you look back at it, why do you think it was? Was it was like feeding the machine kind of thing?
Illegal, attention grabbing, like just I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like the stuff I do now, I'm 26, right? And when I turn 35,
26.
When I turn 35, I'm going to look at myself now and be like, what the hell were you thinking, Alex? But, just I feel like part of growing up and part of getting mature, and, I've been arrested like a bunch of times. So,
Yeah, I mean, the two ones that obviously stood out for me, and I think I became aware of you just because you were doing a lot of stuff and you were getting a lot of views and a lot of supercar stuff. And that was always in a very different playground than like we were at Hoonigan at the time. Mm-hmm. But obviously like the Tesla jump was a big one. Oh, yeah. And it's one of those ones for me that as like, if you would have permitted that, then it's awesome. But at the same time, it's fucking cool looking. Well, right? And it's that weird mix,
99% of people still think I was driving the Tesla. And like, I feel like that's a huge misconception.
You organized the day, right? Kind of
no,
thing?
not even.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But nobody believes me. So like, I don't even try to explain this. But the story is that I hosted a Tesla meet, and like 50 Teslas showed up, and we are going to go do a canyon drive. It started raining. So I was like, all right, well, what are we going to do? We're just going to go home. And this kid comes up to me. Well, a mutual friend, like this kid I know, comes up to me. He's like, hey, I have a friend of mine that wants to jump his Tesla. And I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, let's go watch. And then it happened.
And then you got associated with it.
Well, so...
or is it because you uploaded on your channel?
I'll admit something. So somebody else posted that video before me, and they, within like the first 30 minutes, they got like 1 million views. And I'm like, views? Oh my God. Like, I want to hop in on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
And then, so I posted it like maybe 6 or 8 hours after. So like that happened at like, I think like 1 a.m. And then I stayed up all night to like edit my YouTube video. And I'm like, this guy's out here getting all the views right now, and I should be getting it. And then so I edited that video and I posted it, and the next day I woke up and like the world hated me. Yeah.
I don't know. From my perspective, I don't know if I think entirely the world hated you, because it was viral because it was something to see. Right.
Yeah.
But there's also an element, I think, in this community where like there's always going to be anything like that. You've got people who are going to call you out for, you should have done it this way. You should have done it that way. Which like, I mean, if it was done legally, it would have been a huge film, and people would have, brought you on to talk about how you guys put it together and everything. But yeah, I get that.
I mean, that was a time where like, if somebody came up to me and was like, hey, you want to go like watch me drift my car in the middle of the street? Like, I'd be like, sure, why not? I'll go watch. But like, looking back at it now, I'd be like, I don't even want to be associated with that. Like, you want to drift your car, man, just, I don't even want to be near you. In the middle of the street. But like, that was a time where like, if anybody wanted to do anything, any hood rat shit, I'd be like, yeah, I want to come watch. Yeah.
When we were with Hoonigan, because of the type of content we made at Hoonigan, we kind of create this rule early on that like we would never associate ourselves with that type of stuff, because we had this whole business that was running around it.
Yeah.
So it was like, you never saw us doing something on the street, like none of that would ever, like, and that's one of the reasons why, like, we developed the burn yard and all of that, because we needed places to go slide cars and do all of that, but keep it off, because the brand had so much like attitude around that stuff that it was like, okay, we have to do it, but we have to do it in a way that we say is like legal and legit, and kind of bring those things together, because it was clearly it was clearly a fear that someone would eventually do something like the Hoonigan sticker on a car, and we would have to defend that. Right. And when that happens, it's easy to sit there and go, watch every one of our videos. None of them are on the streets. Like, we've never done that, kind of thing. So
it's funny you bring that up because, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, so I might have to tell you, text you tomorrow and say, don't put this in there. But, so I've done a lot of ride-alongs with the California Highway Patrol.
I want to get into this whole part of it.
I just don't know what I'm allowed to talk about or not. So but I'll tell it right now anyways, so you have it. So I've been doing a lot of ride-alongs with the California Highway Patrol, right? And it's funny you bring up the Hoonigan sticker stuff because they have flock, right? And you know what flock is. And so when I do the ride-alongs, I see all the flock notifications, and you would not believe how many license plate frames, Hoonigan license plate frames are like associated with like assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer wanted cars, Yeah. And they're all like Hoonigan, like every day there's a Hoonigan, either a license plate frame or like the plate itself.
So just yesterday, someone got arrested in Huntington Beach for something, and they were wearing like Hoonigan head to toe.
Yeah,
and of course, like the group chat of all the ex-Hoonigan guys were all like, "What the fuck happened to the fan base? Like, what changed?"
If you had flock on your phone, which you can't, like only law enforcement officers can, right? You will get a notification at least like twice a day of a Hoonigan car or Hoonigan stickered car wanted for something. On flock.
It's horrible.
It's incredible.
Not proud of that.
And
the license plate frames that we sold, and mostly the license plates, were one of the like number one sellers at Zoomies. And like and I think it's Zoomies, because it was one of the things we sold to Zoomies, and it was one of those things that we never thought it was going to be that big, and then they were everywhere. And I remember
license plate frames,
the frame and the actual plates, like the. They're not a fake plate, but it's like a vanity plate thing that would just say Hoonigan and people would just run those on their cars. When we made them, the intention of it was like, if you go to a car show, if you go to the track, like you don't want your real plate on your car for whatever reason, you want people to know who you are or where you are. And then it just became things.
All the takeover kids.
Yeah, and all of my friends who are like in the sheriff's department are like, dude, you know how many fucking cars we pull over that like are running Hoonigan plates, and we have to explain to them like, this is not a license plate. You are not allowed to run this on your car. So
and Flock's AI knows the type of car that it takes a picture of.
Yep.
So like every time a Hoonigan plate drives by a flock camera, it's like, the cold-plated car.
This is actually good for me to know, because I drive my like 911 around that still has Hoonigan stickers on it, because it was the original RWB Hoonigan car, and now I'm probably going to be, they're going to be like, this guy.
Yeah, no, there are cops that don't care and don't know anything about cars and car culture that now associate that sticker with hood rat people.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
What happened to the brand? What are your thoughts on flock? This is obviously a big topic these days.
Okay, so I can totally understand where the general the people are coming from.
Yep.
It's like, it's not chill, the surveillance and stuff like that. But if people just like looked at how flock is being used, obviously there's always gonna be cops that abuse it, right?
Yeah.
There's like 20 people that now got arrested for it, stalking their girlfriends. But if you actually saw that like how flock was being used properly, it works. Like so many bad guys get caught, and they would be let free, like people are stealing cars or like stealing catalytic converters, robbing people, burglarizing homes. Like so many people would not be caught if it weren't for flock. And like it is such an incredible tool. But I can totally understand like just having that out there.
Giving up freedom for safety thing.
It's incredible. Like it works so damn well. Like somebody just burglarizes a house and somebody has a plate, bang, it's in every cop's flock app hit list, and like we'll get notifications within the first flock camera hit. And there's like, I mean, here there aren't that many flock cameras, but in the Bay Area they're like everywhere. So like you cannot avoid a flock camera, and they'll pick up like, they're really good about it. Like they'll pick up like all sorts of, not just California plates. Like if even if you have like a license plate cover on it, like they'll pick it up.
So let's jump into this, because this is like a whole new chapter of your story, which is like you decide. I'm trying to understand kind of how did this come about, and explain for people who don't know like what you've been doing recently, because I know about it because we actually have a mutual friend, Eddie at Calabasas Porsche. He's a old time friend of mine from Queens.
Oh, Eddie.
Yeah. I call him Mongo, by the way. That's his nickname. But
okay,
I
I'm
grew
gonna
up.
call him Mongo next time.
Yeah, you call him Mongo. But shout out to Mongo. But I went there. I don't know. It's almost like a year ago, and your GT3 was there with all the cop lights and everything.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, have you seen?" Alex's car. I was like, what are you doing with this? And then obviously I started seeing all the content that you're putting out. So, and we were talking about this before. It's kind of like a modern day like Ouija, or like, you know who that is, the photographer from New York. He would photograph crime scenes. So he was like kind of this guy who would show up and be like the first person on the scene and photograph crime scenes. And that kind of, I think, was a little bit of an inspiration behind the movie Nightcrawler. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
So what made you shift to this? Because this is such a different kind of story for you now.
I've been doing that stuff as like a hobby since I got my driver's license, so 2016.
Okay.
And right around that time, a Netflix show came out called Shot in the Dark. And it's a Netflix show about all the people that, do that, but sell it to the news. And like, I was like, oh my gosh, these people are so amazing and so cool. So like I went out and like introduced myself and met all of them. And then one of them kind of introduced me to like how to figure all this stuff out and what to do. And then I got like so fascinated that I even like went out and like everyone, for some reason, like you don't have to, but everyone drives a cop car, like a civilian, but like an old cop car.
Right.
Like people drive Crown Vics, Ford Explorers, Dodge Chargers. So I went out and bought a brand new Chevy Caprice. Do you know what that is?
Of course.
2014 Chevy Caprice with like the LS2.
SS.
Yeah, exactly. And then like I kitted it out, but then for like all my life, I would run all those calls and like go and like see all these pursuits. But I would never want to post it on my social media because I'm like, I'm a car person. Like this has nothing to do with what I do. And, I don't want people to think I'm just like being a completely nosy person and going on all these, calls and like posting this stuff. So I never posted it on my Instagram or on my social media. But I made a burner account and I posted some of like the craziest clips that I filmed back in the day. And like, that burner account got way more views than my own Instagram. And like still to this day, nobody knows, who that account belongs to. And I'm not even gonna drop the username, but and I was like, the views equals money. And like, what if like, I shift my, like cars are great. Right. But then I also, when I was much younger, I thought cars were the world, and like the 1% of the population that's into cars, like I thought that was like 90% of the population because it was just the world I was surrounding myself in, right? And then I realized like, there's a lot of people. 1% of the world is still a lot of people, right? And there's a lot of people that cares about cars, but the entire world cares about police chases and like drama and shit happening. Like there's a reason why if there's a car accident on the freeway, all that traffic backing up is not because of there's one less lane. It's all because of people stopping to like break their necks and look at the car.
They call it rubbernecking for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I got a monetization deal with Snapchat, and I got more views posting police chases and like drunk people crashing their cars. I got more views posting that stuff than like I could have ever imagined in my entire life, and more money as a result of that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna not like. I also started to like hate cars a little bit because I started to like I had to monetize it one way or the other, and then like cars became sort of a job. You're probably very
I know it very well.
Exactly. So like I had no motivation to do car stuff, no motivation to go to car shows. Like if I did car activities, it was a chore because I had to like work and film it while everyone else is having fun.
Yep.
So that. I brought that back to my life, which is like amazing because now I do a lot of like car stuff and track days and all sorts of car activities, and I don't film it, and I'm actually enjoying life. And then being while I'm monetizing all the police chases, and so I actually took all the proper steps, and then like even got a police department credential to like be a press photographer, and like went through all the tests and whatnot and all the processes to be able to like I mean. The Constitution protects everyone to be part of the press, but like there are still things you can do to be more legit, I think.
Yep.
And like special plates you can get for your car if you're like a recognized press photographer. So I did all that, and then Yeah, now that's like all I do, and like it doesn't get me in trouble.
Yep. That's good.
Yeah, like I don't
You're
have
less
to post cars.
You're less controversial now.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
and the amount of views that I got doing social media for cars in 10 years, I got in like 1 month.
Wow.
So it was incredible.
And you're not having to constantly buy new supercars to achieve that.
Yeah, exactly. And now I can if people followed me for a long time, they'll notice that like all my cars went from like this like flashy wrap and like all sorts of weird, crazy wraps to like now every car I have the black.
Yep.
And now I can actually enjoy them how I personally want them to be, and not like have to, oh my gosh, I'm going to wrap my car in pink because I think that'll get more views.
Yeah.
Like now I can actually just enjoy my car, and like, I don't ever like half the cars, like I don't even post even. I just enjoy it by myself.
Yeah, I fully understand the like how it becomes a job and it ruins it. I think like 4 of the best months of my life of being a car enthusiast in the past whatever decade was right when I quit Hoonigan. I was like doing track days. I was going to events again because I went and I worked outside the industry for a year. So I went and worked at a animation company. So I was completely gone from car stuff. And all of a sudden, when the weekend rolled around, I wanted to go do car stuff, right? Like I wanted to go to my local Cars and Coffee to go catch up with some friends, to go do a day at Willow Springs. And all of a sudden, I was doing all the stuff that everyone would say, like, oh, why don't you go do more of this? And it's like, because when the weekend comes, like, I just want to like just remove myself from this because it's all business. When I'm there, it's business. The people I'm talking to, it's business. And now it's like, oh yeah, I don't have anything you want anymore or anything that I want from you. Yeah. So now we just hang out and talk. And
talk
like
shit,
that. Yeah, it's a lot better. So I definitely know that.
It was like the most relieving feeling. And also like I used to make a lot of content with car rallies, and I don't even know why people make content with car rallies. Nothing happens, but
yeah.
Every car rally was like something I dreaded. Like it was a final in high school coming up. Like crap, I have to like have all this camera ready. And
yeah, I mean
like,
you're wearing a Gold Rush hat right now. So
yeah. But now it's like something I look forward to for the first time in my life. So we can relate to that so hard. Yeah, like and like now like this Gold Rush rally is like my vacation once a year. And I actually enjoy it. Like I have so much fun. I put a couple Instagram stories up, but
it feels more like you're an enthusiast instead of a business person there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You still have a pretty decent car collection? What do you
I've
have
never
these
sold
days?
anything.
Okay.
So everything I've ever posted.
What do you have? How many cars do you have?
I have a lot of like junk cars, but
you're speaking to the junk car king. I think I probably have junkier cars than you, but
I have like my Tesla, and then my Fiat. And then I have my GT3, which I use every day. My Caprice I still have. I just got a P1, which is like childhood dream come true, happiest day of my life. I still have my Huracan. My M2 I still have. My 720 I still have. I think that's it. I have my RS6 still. I think that's all like the nice cars I have, and then everything else is like I have a billion like minivans and like just crap.
Oh, what's your favorite minivan? This is my
What's
kind
my favorite
of
nice minivan is probably like
minivan.
the Pacifica with the vacuum cleaner in the back. It's like the greatest invention
Pacifica
ever.
with the vacuum cleaner is pretty great.
Yeah. Having a built-in vacuum. Every car should have a back. If I can put a built-in vacuum cleaner in my GT3,
doesn't the Toyota Sienna also offer a vacuum?
Do they
cleaner?
now?
I think so. Yeah.
Well then, yeah.
Sung Kang is a big Toyota Sienna guy,
I've seen those
and
clips.
he's told me a lot about the vacuum. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have vacuum cleaners now too.
I bought a 2001 Dodge Caravan, which is also the car I grew up in. It was like my childhood car.
What year? You said
2001, 2002.
Okay, yeah.
And then I chopped the roof off of it and had the 2 rear seats like face each other. Yep. And it was like the most fun I've ever had with my friends.
That's awesome.
Driving around. I have my Miata, which is like honestly the greatest car ever made. I love just hauling in that car in the canyons, and like the car, the maintenance on that car to me is like free.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $30 for brake pads,
mm-hmm.
friggin' $40 to change the oil, like every 10,000 miles, if that. Like, so I just love knowing that, like, I can, like, at my financial standpoint, I can, if I crash this $4,000 car that I only have liability insurance on, like, it's not the end of the world.
Yep.
And just having that feeling, that's also like why rental cars are so fun, right?
Of
like,
course.
who cares, a rental car?
Yeah.
But like, also having your own rental car experience where it's like a car that's fast and fun and you don't care about, it's like so enjoyable and like top tier male human experience versus like driving a P1 around. I'm like, holy shit, I can't put miles in this thing.
Not put miles, or if something breaks, it's kind of terrifying around it, and there's like the anxiety of it, or if you have to go somewhere and you don't know if there's going to be like parking. Yeah. And you're like, oh, like the other day I had to go up to Culver City for something. And my buddy Vinny was like, oh, let's take the Ferraris. I was like, dude, you know what parking's like there? Yeah. And I was like, someone's going to back into it. Like, I don't want to deal with that. I'm just worried about it the whole time. Where it's like, you just take like a normal car and you're like, whatever. You know? There's a freedom. There's definitely a freedom that my thing is there's two different types of cars I have. Cars that if they break down, I'm willing to leave them there and come back the next day and not be too worried about it. And cars that I have to sit there and wait like to figure out how to get it off the road because I'm afraid of leaving it there, you know? Kind of thing.
No, so. That's so funny. Yeah.
Like there's just certain stuff where you're like, oh, fuck, I got to wait for this thing now. So we're going to take a quick break. Exactly. We'll come right back.
Cool.
So Nick, you see, I bought a new car.
I did, outside. Looks a little bit modern for you.
I was really trying to stay true and like just drive old cars and be in it. The AC died in the van. The RS2 is like a little problematic, and then I got a flat the other day. So I bought a new car.
New? It's 13 years old, dude.
Yeah, but like for me, it is definitely youngest by miles. It's got only 28,000 on the clock.
But it's you, so there's a catch. What's the catch?
Yeah, so I got it thinking this thing's going to be perfect. There's nothing to fix. No reason to go to FCP Euro and order some parts. But I got inside and it smells like it has 100,000 hours of cigar smoke in it.
Rough.
So obviously it needs to go get detailed and cleaned. And if you know anything about doing this, if you don't replace your cabin air filter, it doesn't really matter because you blow all of that horrible smell back into the car. So I went to FCP Euro, got myself a new cabin air filter. And of course, on the way to the cart, like might have clicked in a few other liquid moly fluids. It was weird for me though. I got to admit, like I'm used to having this like really long, like multi-page cart of all the parts I need. Which reminds me of that other Audi that I bought a few months ago, which honestly needs all the parts. Maybe I should head back to FCP Euro and order some of those. So if you've got a thing for questionably reliable, old, or new cars, check out fcpeuro.com and they will keep your machine on the road. All right, I need you to walk me through like what a day or a night is like, sort of, you know, chasing kind of these police moments and everything. Like what technology do you have? Like how do you, I'm assuming police scanners, all these things, but how do you, because I've watched a lot of the videos that you created and it's like, how were you there? How did you get there before the cops got there or did this? Like what is it that what does it look like for you? Walk me through that.
Well, first of all, scanners. There's a lot of apps and I made a lot of connections. That's, I think the most important part is like, when a 911 call gets broadcasted, it's not just the cops that hear it. There's a whole economy that shifts towards that. Like fire department goes, the tow truck drivers go,
right.
All the media people go. And there are so many people that listen to 911 calls or like the scanners at night. And by building I have like probably like 50 people that I know that I like run into on a nightly basis in different parts of LA, like whether it's police officers all the way to like gang members. I'm friends with whoever, not friends, but like acquaintances.
Yeah.
You know, whoever, and I have no enemies besides a couple actually. And having those connections, like people will always, or I can hit somebody up. Like if I know someone's going to be in like Wilshire Division, like I know that's somebody, I know somebody from there and they're going to be there within 2 minutes. And if I'm in like Southeast Division, then I can call them and be like, hey, like what's going on over there? Is this worth me driving 20 minutes over to? And that is the most valuable thing I think that I've built to like be able to filter. Cause like by 6 a.m. there's like the incident number for LAPD goes up to like 1,000. So that means like 1,000 911 calls. And then there's CHP and there's LA City Fire and there's sheriff. So like there are so many 911 calls that get generated in one night, and having those connections to like people, having eyes everywhere is like the most valuable thing for me to be able to like filter out these calls and like actually go to what's like funny. People love watching drunk people do stupid shit. Just do drunk things. One, I would never drink and drive, and I actually had a friend that died because of a drunk driver. So I have zero mercy for drunk drivers, and like I even tell my friends, hey, if I ever catch you drunk driving and you crash and you come out over a 911 call, I'm gonna film your ass and post it. And like, not only am I making it just a nice example out of these people, the sad part is LAPD doesn't care. I don't want to say that, but like,
it's not a high priority.
It's not a high priority for them to arrest drunk drivers. So a lot of drunk drivers get let go, and they just get an Uber home. Officer shows up, suspects GOA, whatever. They tow the car and they come get it from the impound lot the next day. That's
right. So you're saying they've crashed and they've left the scene and just left the car there.
I don't want to give the public too much like information on how to get away from DUI, because if you drunk drive a car, like there's for sure ways to get away from it. Knowing what I know, but it's all because of the system. And LAPD, CHP not so much, but LAPD. And if someone matters is watching this, like I hope you change something, because it's a big issue in my opinion. And LAPD, they make it so hard for officers to write up a DUI, and it doesn't benefit them at all. It doesn't, unless you're trying to make traffic division, like it doesn't, or trying to promote and you want to rack up your DUI numbers, like it doesn't benefit them. And it takes them like 6 hours sometimes if they don't know what they're doing. If it's like their first 10 DUIs, like it takes them literally 6 hours of their entire shift to book one DUI. So there's two watches for LAPD. There's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Plus or minus an hour, depending on division. And then there's 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. For watch 3, sort of night shift, graveyard shift. When are most people drunk driving? At 2 in the morning. That's the end of watch 3 shift, the graveyard shift. Right. These people have families. They have kids to go home to. And they're working 12-hour shifts. They're not going to show up to a crash at 2 in the morning and sign up to do a 6-hour DUI process and go home and then have to show up to work after 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah. When we were kids, we used to street race around shift change, and we had an entire, when I grew up in New York City, and we would street race in Queens, and then we would jump the border to Brooklyn when the cops would kick us out of Queens, and we'd go back and forth. And we basically had it all timed so that it was happening around shift change, because we knew that the cops would flip the lights on, we would leave, but they wouldn't ticket any of us, because that's not what they were like, all going home in the next 15 minutes, and they didn't want to deal with waiting for impound or any of that. So, exactly. And it's basically the reason that we got to street race every weekend, So it was all because it happened at shift change.
I mean, you might get unlucky and get a mid-watch,
it happens.
A swing shift person, that just got on shift and like, I'm going to book your ass. But yeah, I mean, CHP is a lot easier. Their process is a lot more streamlined for DUI, so they'll take two, taking 2 DUIs in one shift is crazy to LAPD. Like that's unheard of.
It's kind of alarming to hear that, to be honest.
It's sad. It's very sad. And like from what I see, all the gnarly car accidents that I see on the freeway, like people crash, CHP comes, shuts the freeway down, I swing their door open and they're drunk, they're hammered. And like, it's really sad. And a lot of people are dying because of drunk drivers, and no cop wants to deal with it ever. Unless someone crashes, and then they have to deal with it. But then, or even if somebody crashes, if there's no injuries, they don't have to deal with it. It's exchange your information to whoever properties you damaged and go home,
You brought up, when you started talking about this, you brought up that, you don't mind sort of shaming these people. Do you get feedback from people who are annoyed that you're shaming these people?
100%.
Interesting.
I cannot believe how many people try to protect drunk drivers. And I cannot believe the amount of jokes that are, I mean, I have thick skin. I can take a lot of jokes, but like people joke and like think it's so funny to go drunk drive. And like, there are a lot of memes. I mean, some of them are hilarious, but there's like even a lot of memes on Instagram. Like, oh, I'm going to like take 9-10 shots and like, I'm ready to go fucking race.
Yeah.
And, and people think it's funny. And it's like, I mean, hey man, if you want to deal with it, like ultimately it's going to cost you like $40,000 and just insurance and lawyers and whatever. And,
I have never had more than a drink and drove a car because cars were always such an important part of my life that the idea of losing my license was like just something I wasn't willing to do. And by the time I was 24, I was a magazine journalist and was told that like if you get a DUI, like automakers will not let you drive press cars. So like it literally got to a point where it's like if you get a DUI as an automotive journalist, your career's over. So it's like
I can understand not getting press cars, but man, if you crash and if you get a DUI, there's like people with getting DUIs with like 8 prior DUIs, like, and they still have a valid license.
Yeah. But I'm saying like for a lot of people, but like in the automotive world, it was like, yeah, you do that, like you're not getting invited to the next Porsche launch because like they're gonna get told because they all have they have all your driver information and that stuff, and that was enough for me when I was younger to be like, yeah, I'm just not gonna do that. Like, but like it is crazy. People are pretty open about just like drinking and driving.
And they think it's hilarious and funny. Yeah. I mean, some of the jokes are funny. I'll give them the jokes, but like honestly, I blame the system. I blame like whoever the hell wrote up the whole DUI process. I'm sure it's a lot of like legalities and, I'm sure in the 30s it wasn't as complicated, but, it's just so impossible for a cop to write an LAPD officer. Don't know about sheriffs, but LAPD, they're not gonna like. Sadly, like you crash your car at 4 a.m. like, and nobody's injured. It'll come out as a non-high priority call, like a code 2 non-priority call, and like nobody's gonna buy it. Nobody's gonna show up for an hour, and if they do show up, they're gonna hope that Father Time took care of the call. It's Father Time is a actual terminology. A slang phrase cops use is like, call comes out, I'll just let Father Time handle it. So they'll let Father Time handle it, and then hope that like one of the bandit tow drivers took the car and like this guy went an Uber home.
I think the other day you posted one where it was like a Mercedes went underneath another car. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
And like the people who were in the car like thought it was funny. Like you could see they were like laughing about it. And it's like that was a wild accident.
I mean, nobody was hurt. You can joke about it, right? But that guy looked like he consented to get in this his car, even though he was, taking ketamine. So,
because it was the passenger who was talking about what the driver was doing, right? At that point, I think, I forget. Yeah. Anyway, it was interesting, an interesting thing to watch. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like to also like sort of like get out of the car and then self snitch on yourself about what you just did.
Actually,
on camera.
This morning it was crazy. Like this girl crashed her Tesla into like 4 parked cars, and then like 10 911 calls came out. But I show up and it's nobody but the girl, and I'm like, who called 911? And she's like, I did. And she's like hammered and plastered. And I'm like, why are you calling 911? He's like, because I crashed into this. I'm like, oh, it's very responsible of you, but like,
yeah, you're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah. And then like it was like 4 a.m. and nobody showed up, and it timed out. Like timeout means like nobody showed up.
Yeah.
And like no LAPD officers wanted to buy the call.
How often does that happen?
Every day.
Show timeouts just all the time.
DUI crashes, nobody's injured. LAPD ain't doing shit. Unless a T unit, a traffic unit, shows. I mean, like there will be officers that love taking deuces DUIs. There's a lot of officers that love taking deuces and like enjoy it. Good, amazing for them. But 99% chance you crash a car in LAPD jurisdiction, where LAPD has to handle that area's call, and then they'll, I mean, they're not going to show up for minimum 30 minutes and then up to 3 hours. I mean, I've seen DUI calls time out for like 5 hours sometimes. I'll be going home at like 7 a.m, and then the operator will say like, hey, is anyone going to take care of this DUI crash timed out by 5 hours? And I'm like, holy crap. Like nobody's there anymore. It's 5 hours old.
So this brings up a good point. I imagine most of this is nighttime. Like that's the more exciting stuff for you.
Yeah,
so you kind of live a weird life now, huh?
Yeah.
Like where you're up all night and sleep day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When you told me to come down here at 10 a.m., I'm like, no chance. Not happening.
So like you just woke up and came here. Like
I had something to do at like 2 p.m. So like I woke up at like 1, and that's pretty early for me.
So outside of the DUIs, what's sort of the other sort of exciting
police
stuff?
chases.
Yeah. That's the part that I think sounds the most
I love watching police chases. Like it's dangerous to the public, and but like luckily, like at 3 or 4 in the morning, like nobody's really out. And if a police chase lasts for more than like 30 or 40 minutes, it's typically a person that's like a car enthusiast or likes cars. If people panic, like, and they don't have like fast driving experience, like most pursuits, 99% of pursuits, people either just foot bail within the first minute or like crash because they just panic and they've never driven a car fast like that. But like last week there was a Civic Type R. I posted this, one of my most viral videos now, but a Civic Type R was waiting underneath the bridge, and these 2 dudes in a stolen Chevy SS came while they were being chased and hopped in another stolen Civic Type R. And Type R's, as you know, are all manual. And like I knew right then and there, this is a car guy, and this guy's either going to get away, they're going to spike him. The only way this guy's going to get caught is they're going to spike him. Otherwise, he's just going to drive all friggin' night, and like somebody's going to give up, or he's just going to get away. And yeah, so when a car guy gets into a police chase, like I can kind of tell just by like listening to the radio and the type of car they're in. And yeah, they're really good at running.
I always am surprised because you'll like watch, especially like the helicopter chase ones, and I'm sitting there and they're like, he's speeding. I'm like, he's doing 90 miles an hour. Like that's like what I do every day on the 405 with traffic. Like it's not even going that fast.
Yeah.
And then occasionally you'll see the one that's like, this car's doing 150 miles an hour. And it's like, the cops ain't catching him. Like,
and the helicopter can't keep up.
Yeah, and he's just completely cutting traffic, and you're like, they're not going to catch him. Do the cops stand down here when it gets too fast? I don't really know the laws in LA.
So it depends on like its policy.
Okay.
Like LAPD is a lot more. They have a lot more pursuit policies that people have to abide by, and now they're also cutting down on pursuits. Like they used to be a lot easier with DUI suspects. Like if someone's wanted for DUI, like they're swerving all over the road, that was typically a good chase, and not anymore. Like if you're drunk driving or if an officer can articulate that this person is possibly drunk driving, like that's not enough to keep having to chase somebody.
Right. So it has to be like a violent crime.
Yeah.
For them.
Just the other day, there was a Cybertruck wanted for a shooting.
Yeah. Is that the one that got split in half? Is that
No.
Okay.
There was a Cybertruck, and the air unit observed this guy shooting at other cars on the freeway, and the watch commander in Van Nuys just told everyone to cancel it. Like, I don't know why. I actually want to meet that guy and ask him, hey, I want to know your logic. Because, I mean, not only did it piss me off, it pissed a lot of people off. The air unit got pissed off and like started arguing with the watch commander. Yeah. But
did you put this on?
Yeah.
I saw this because you hear the comment where they keep asking and he keeps repeating like to shut it down.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I saw this.
And I genuinely... Like the only thing I know about this watch commander is that he's new to the Van Nuys area, and he's like just a fresh watch, like a probational watch commander. Like he's a fresh watch commander, or a fresh lieutenant. But I think I tried to like ask one of my buddies in Van Nuys to like see if I can like get a hold of him, because I wanted, before I post a video, like, is there anything I should know on why you cancel this? Because that was crazy. Like that never happens. If an air unit says this guy's shooting at people, like they will chase this guy until the wheels fall off or until they lose him. If it's like a stolen car or whatever, they might.
You could tell that the officers in pursuit were not wanting to shut down. They're like, we have CHP support, and they're like,
that was the air unit. And even the air unit was shocked, and then he was like, forget it, I'm just going to take over at CHP, because he was right behind. But I mean, it's.
How many chases have you sort of? Have you been involved in, followed? Like, what's
over the last 10 years? Thousands.
Really?
Yeah, thousands. Probably anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000.
And when did you shift your content to talk more about this? Just in the past year or so?
End of 2024.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I was like, this works. And when I posted on Snapchat, I was like, this content works. And when I post about, like, I see every Snap Stories analytics.
Yep.
When I post about car content, like, everybody swipes out. And then when I post police chases, like my average retention for like stories was like 5 minutes. And I would tell people that, and like they were like blown away, because like the next best content creator on Snapchat was doing like 1 minute in retention
Yeah.
on Snapchat, and like I was getting like people were actually sitting there watching all 100 of my stories. It was incredible.
Do you go solo, or do you bring camera ops with you, or is it just you?
I bring a lot of friends with me.
Okay.
Yeah, but a lot of the stuff I just film off my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is it mostly phone? Or do
Yeah,
you
I
have
used to
other
bring
cam-
my camera, and then I realized like I started losing a lot of shots, like fumbling with my FX3, and I'm like the car would go by, and I was just like this Sony wouldn't turn on fast enough.
Yep.
So I mean, the iPhone 17, I have this button programmed in my settings set. If I click it, it's recording now. So that I feel like helped me catch a lot of stuff that I wouldn't be able to catch with the camera. Sure, I'd like a camera, especially at low light at nighttime, would be a much better. But like pursuits, they fly past you on the freeway so fast that like yeah, if I didn't have my phone.
So let's talk about the GT3, because you have built a vehicle now
Yeah.
that is fully prepped. You said a lot of the other people do it in sort of retired cop cars, but you
I
now-
have 3 cars. I have 4 cars that are purpose built for this stuff.
Okay.
And the 3 cars I'm not going to talk about, and they're like very civilian cars.
Right. Okay.
And nobody's going to notice. And I use those cars to like drive around a lot of like dangerous areas of LA. So I don't want to be like noticed.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, the GT3, that car I purely use for pursuits. So like if it's a weekend and there's a lot of takeovers, some Infinity without a license plate is going to run.
Yeah. Or unfortunately a Hoonigan license
Yeah,
plate.
exactly. With the Hoonigan sticker on the back.
G35s with Hoonigan license
Somebody's going to
plates.
run, right?
Damn it.
And CHP will chase them. That's why I love CHP. If somebody runs, that itself is a felony. And now they're chasing somebody wanted for a felony.
Yeah.
Versus LAPD, they have to go by what their want is like what the original want is. So like if the original want was like expired registration, forget it. You're not chasing that person.
Yeah.
But that's why like CHP, they'll pull somebody over for just not having a license plate. If they run, that's a felony, and they'll chase it. So yeah, going back to what I was saying, I drive the GT3 if like it's a weekend. There's a lot of takeovers. I have a lot of friends that like go to takeovers, or not friends, but like acquaintances.
I like how you're like gang members and takeover people, acquaintances.
Yeah, I have another funny story to tell. Actually, we'll go back to that. But yeah, I'll know if there's gonna be a lot of takeovers, or there used to be a street takeover task force, a really big one in LA, and somebody ruined it, and now they're gone. So that doesn't happen anymore in LA. It still happens in the Bay Area, and they're really good about it in the Bay Area, but not in LA. So sadly, those guys are not out. But yeah, I'll like if the weather's clear and I know there's gonna be a pursuit this day, like I'll drive the GT3, and purely because like the brakes on that car are so on any sports car is so good. Like even if it's like a sports sedan, like a BMW M5, like those brakes are still not as good as GT3 stopping power, right? And the tires I have on that car are like way wider on the front than stock. I also took off the carbon ceramics, put steel rotors on so that they bite much faster. And those brakes on that car have probably saved my life like multiple times.
Yeah, that was my next question. You must have gotten into some really sketchy situations where you're sort of in the mix with the chase and stuff. Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, if I'm in a car, I feel pretty invincible. I know it's pretty unhealthy, but like I feel pretty invincible in a car just because I trust my driving abilities. And I can get away, and like I know that like I'm working on putting ballistic windows on my GT3, but like my doors are ballistic, so if I hide behind my door, like if somebody shoots at me, or I can just get down, and then I also put ballistic.
By the way, I think you might be the only person in the world who has ballistic paneling in their GT3. Most people are trying to remove weight. You're like, we'll add Kevlar
the
in.
ballistic paneling helped me a lot in filming felony stops. So like at the end of a pursuit, or if they start following a wanted vehicle, they'll wait for all this backup to arrive, and they'll stop it once the backup arrives. And I don't want to just stand, like this guy might just stop his car and get out and spray.
Of
right?
course, yeah.
So being able to film, and I would like swing my door open and just like stick my phone above my door and like peek my head out like this. That's helped a lot to have that cover. That's 90% of the reason why I got ballistic doors. Not I was worried about getting shot at, but just worried about being in the line of fire of the bad guy because I'm always behind the cops, right? It's bad guy, cop, then me.
Yep.
So if the bad guy shoots, then it's me. If it goes past the cops, then it's me. So having that cover was nice, and especially the GT3 doesn't have front engine, so there's not really a cover in the front. So like if I'm in my other cars, I can just run around the front, or like hop out the passenger side and take cover behind the engine. But then in the GT3, if I'm covering behind the front fender,
it's fuel celled in you.
Yeah. So the ballistic thing was ballistic doors was just peace of mind and like nice that I can cover behind something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you has there been any moments that have been like where you got back in the car and you're like, this is crazy, I don't know why I do this?
This morning, I actually
really
this morning I've never feared for my life harder. And it was just a crackhead that chased me with a knife. But like I was unarmed. And I had a pepper spray on me, but pepper spray's not gonna do shit to a crackhead. Those guys are zombies at that point.
Eat it.
Yeah. And this guy like started charging at me like a fucking bull. Like Usain Bolt on his full sprint, like charging at me. And
was he a suspect involved in a call, or was it just
no? So I was
random?
filming another crackhead in the middle of the street, and this other crackhead with a knife comes in to my line of fire, and then he's like, "Stop filming me!" And I'm like, "I wasn't even filming you." And then just starts charging at me. And I was with another live streamer on Kick. He was streaming on Kick, and like he got the whole thing on stream. And I just put my camera down. I'm like, okay, my life's in danger. And then, man, I like ran for my fucking life, and I was so like burnt after that run. Like my chest was hurting, and I was pale, and my hands were shaking. I literally thought I was gonna die. And then I called 911, and then I was like, why am I even calling 911? Like, this guy's already gone.
They're going to time out.
I have no faith in LAPD, right? So I called 911. They showed up. I'm like, all right, guys, GOA. Then, like, we're good. Like, like not even worth taking a report. LAPD, I feel like they're always trying to bring their crime stats down. So they'll not take a report. Or if there's a felony, then and there's a victim like myself, they'll call you 5 weeks later at 3 a.m. on a blocked number. And then they'll say, oh, nobody answered. Joke's on you, I'm awake at 3 a.m, but yeah, but they'll still call me with an unknown number, or they'll call anyone with an unknown number, and then just, there's no victim. All right, we're gonna toss this case.
Do any of those incidents make you question continuing to do this, or is it part of the rush?
No, I was like, okay, well now I've been putting off getting my CCW, and I'm like, okay, now I need to work on it again. Yeah.
We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll come right back. Heatwave makes some great shades. The Skynet, the Wraith, and my personal favorite, the Vice. But did you know they also make goggles? The MXG 250 is for you motocross, UTV, and dirt sport folks. It features an anti-fog coated, impact-resistant lens and patented ramjet tech to keep the moisture under control for all of you brow sweaters. Plus, it's got a triple post tariff system. Now, if you're thinking, I only enjoy paved motoring, that's okay. Go full goon style. Rock a set with an open face so that you can cosplay that you're a 70s badass. Works for Travis Pastrana and Matt Field. Find yours at heatwavevisual.com. Have you ever questioned why only sockets are privileged enough to get asked to dance by the breaker bar? I mean, seriously, so many other tools could benefit from part snapping leverage. Our favorite German tool company, Wera, has solved this conundrum with their new X-Power actuator. What is it, you ask? It's basically a long bar that accepts a ton of different inserts, which range from the Joker self-adjusting wrenches to ratchets, bit drivers, and even a weldable blank insert. You know, so you can make your own unholy creation. Ultimate fan clutch tool, anyone? See all the batshit things they make for this wild mechanical implement at weratools.com. Hey, if you're into older analog cars like me, then you might not know that these days the suspension actually talks to a computer. But KW knows and has sorted Porsche 997 and 991 owners with their new DDC plug-and-play coilover system, which integrates seamlessly with Porsche's active suspension management, aka PASM. Historically, installing aftermarket coilovers meant you lost the ability to toggle between suspension modes, rendering that switch on the dash useless. With KW's new system, you get to have your cake and eat it too. Factory controls and a 911 that rides on rails. Find yours at kwsuspensions.com.
I want to put a disclaimer in all this, is that like, I'm talking a lot of shit about LAPD here.
Yeah.
And it's
but
none of the officers' fault.
Right. It's the system fault.
It's the systems. It's what they have to do.
Yeah.
That causes them to behave this way.
Yeah, and a topic I want to bring up, which is actually something that Chazzy mentioned to me. Shout out to Chaz Warren. And
Was he on here?
Yeah, he came on.
Oh,
yeah,
sick.
we did it.
Is that published?
Yeah.
Oh,
It
I gotta
came
go
out
watch
like 2 weeks ago or something, or 3 weeks ago. It was me, him, and Ron Zaris. And we actually did a show. It was called Generational Conflict, because like I'm Gen X, Ron is millennial, and he's Gen Z. So it was like 3 generations looking at car culture, like how what we think of takeovers, what we think of like burble tunes, and like how each generation kind of like looks at it slightly different. But in the end, we all kind of had very similar thoughts about it all. So he might like a lot more of the flash and bangs than we do, but it was all pretty similar. But I really love Chazzy. He has just such a good energy. He's so excited about the culture, and he still doesn't seem too jaded, which is nice.
Yeah, I used to work with him.
I know
like,
that's what he had said.
And no, he's always laughing and smiling.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah. But what he mentioned, which I thought was interesting, was he said, and I don't know if you can talk about this, but he said that you've actually been working with whether it was LAPD or CHP to help sort of define who the takeover people are and what the problem is there versus like the traditional car enthusiast. Is that something that's true? Something you can talk about? If not, we can move on.
Something I'm trying to help with CHP is like recruitment, but I'm not trying to like differentiate, because this is something I gave up on a long time ago. But like somebody that's out assigned to go pulling people over that has to do with takeover activities, he's never gonna learn the difference between like a Mark IV Supra that's worth $300,000, right, versus like a Clap G35. Like he's not gonna know the difference, and he's not gonna care to learn the difference, and he's not gonna like. He's like state reffing and all those laws or 30-day impounds. Mm-hmm. All those laws were made for takeovers.
I know.
Yeah, that purely for takeovers, and it's nice knowing that a lot of my police officer friends, like we bond over cars, right?
Yep.
So a lot of my police officer friends are also car guys, and they know their stuff, and I have faith in them. But like this one time, like I did a ride along with CHP, and one of the guys that I was riding with had no knowledge about cars, or like very minimal. He wasn't a car guy. He knew what he had to know about cars to do the job, and that was it. And like we rolled up behind like a Skyline and a Mark IV Supra, and I think he mentioned something like, "Oh, look at these takeover cars. Like, I'm gonna light one of them up." I'm like, "These guys are not takeover cars.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody taking these cars to a takeover." He's like, "Oh, really?" And then I pulled up.
They're counting the number of miles they're driving tonight to keep the value of their cars up.
Don't blame the cops. It's really the takeover kids. Yeah. Like these laws exist because of the takeover kids, and I mean, if I had state ref, I'll deal with it. Whatever. Like it's part of like the process. I mean, it's just part of the crossfire. Like it's part of the war.
Yeah, I know. And obviously when takeovers really started to kind of pop up before the pandemic, they got horrible during the pandemic. It felt like that's where it really went to like a massive level for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. City was empty. There wasn't much to do. Mm-hmm. Like I understand both the draw of it and why it was happening. Mm-hmm. But before that, like Hoonigan was working with Sheriff's Department, because Sheriff's Department sat there saying, 20 years ago, there was this thing called the Brotherhood of Street Racers, right? I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but there was this guy named Big Willie, and he ran the Brotherhood of Street Racers, and they ended up working with Long Beach, San Pedro, the city of LA, a bunch of different people to create an actual racetrack in Terminal Island. So they built a racetrack down there to get
there was a racetrack on
in Terminal Island. Yeah. It was
no
called,
way.
And it was called
How do you get there?
It was called Brotherhood Raceway.
How do you get there?
They would go down into the ports, and there was entrances in from the port line off of there. So
wow.
So you would go down there, and they would run races like Friday and Saturday night. There's actually a fantastic podcast about this. I forget the name of it, but we'll throw it up on the screen. And it was this really amazing thing that happened, and there was all this like really interesting crime data, which was that in the surrounding area, so Compton, Long Beach, crime was going down on Friday and Saturday nights when they were holding races, because it gave people something to go watch and go do, and it got heavily supported. It ran for I think like a decade and a half or so before it got shut down. And
why did it get shut down?
Changing politicians and, changing support in local government. And then there wasn't funding for it anymore. And I think originally, don't quote me on this, but I think originally they had plans for the land. And then they didn't do anything with the land. The land just sat there forever, right? And I think part of the land is actually still there. So I discovered this story in talking to a bunch of people locally, and I went to sheriff's department. I had some friends over there, and I'm like, how do we create this for the current automotive community? Like, how do we create a place where kids can go drive cars, because we've lost all our racetracks, right? And maybe it's not a racetrack, maybe it's this. And then we eventually end up doing the Burnyard events out in Irwindale. So I'm not sure if you're familiar, but we did the Burnyard events out there. And the reality was like the takeover crowd wasn't really showing up to it. It was a car community crowd that was showing up to it. There were some takeover kids, but what the department said was that it was really important, because if we're giving an alternative to go do it, it's actually easier to then crack down on takeovers, because there's less backlash of like
You're going after the wrong guys.
Yeah. So we had started working with them a bit more and trying to figure out ways. And and I said this to Chazzy when he was on the pod. I was like, look, I'm too removed from them now, and I'm a much older, and I don't have the same brand that the Hoonigan connection. I was speaking to an audience that was there, that I have that ability to move that forward, but you do. And like, I think that, and with him doing meets and all of that stuff and the stuff that you've been doing, I think it becomes that the police department wants to figure out how to deal with this, at least from all the people I've spoken to in there, because like, they don't want to deal with takeovers, because they're like this weird powder keg. Like, they don't want to show up and throw the lights on and cause a riot and people get hurt. But at the same time, all the neighbors are complaining about it. So instead, they just punish regular enthusiasts, because then they get all the tickets and they get to go, hey, we wrote up 400 illegally modified cars. And those are cars that belong to people like me who've never been to a takeover. So it's kind of this like weird thing. And anyway, Chaz was just saying that you had been working with, with people and sort of talking about the difference, but you feel like the department's never going to really sort of understand the difference between a Skyline and a
I think there's
G35.
creative ways where I'm like, oh, I wish they did this, I wish they did that. And if I would love to be in a position of power one day, like when I'm older, so I can push for that and make some changes in the department. Don't know if I ever will be, or if I ever will qualify to be, but like, I think there's a way, for sure. There's a way.
Yeah. What's your take on takeovers now? Like, how do you see them in their involvement in the community?
They're all just like really young people that like I don't think in their mind, like they're not in their minds, they're not out to do anything malicious,
right?
And they just want a rush.
Yeah.
I'm doing something illegal. I'm getting an adrenaline rush. Sadly, like there's a lot of, I mean, if like I want people to know that if you're going to a takeover, 1 in 5 of those guys have a gun, and they might shoot you.
This is what the sheriff's department told us.
Yeah, and like, if you're a kid and you're in high school and you want to go to a takeover, just know that the person standing next to you is armed and has multiple felonies and doesn't know gun control. And there's one in the chamber, and if somebody pisses him off, like he'll shoot you.
Yeah.
Like
this is what our sheriff friends were telling us years ago. They said every day we pull over cars from takeovers, and everyone's got a gun on them. Like, I said, it was like, how much of this do you think is the car community? And
I think
it's not. It's stolen cars.
I think those guys, like, I'd say maybe about half are out there with that sort of like nefarious intent.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are also out there just wanting a show, just wanting some excitement, not realizing how terrible it is.
Yeah.
And, and if they're, standing in a intersection with an AutoZone in the background, and that AutoZone gets 459, then AutoZone gets burglarized, then they're like, oh wow, like look, everyone's doing this, like then they have this pack mentality, and like they start stealing stuff from AutoZone just because 300 other people are doing
mentality
it. Yeah. And like, I just don't think a lot of kids are there with malicious intent, which is sad, and I think they need to realize.
Yeah.
And they'll learn, maybe the hard way or not, but okay, I've seen some like 40-year-olds out there that are standing there, and I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like, go get a life. But but a lot of the kids.
Yeah.
I will admit I was one of those kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what attracted you to it? It was just exciting, right?
It's excitement. Yeah. I will admit, 2 months after I turned 18, I got arrested for being at a takeover, for spectating a takeover. And that I just freshly started my social media, and there is people in the police department that their salary is to do nothing but scroll through social media. They are there's many people in the police department that are looking at your social media right now.
Stop snitching on yourself.
Yeah. And all they do, their job is to look at social media, right? And so they see people like me, and then and that's back when the street racing task force was out, and they put out a be on the lookout for me and my car, and then they just saw me at a gas station, pulled me over, took the camera as evidence and use that. Ultimately, as a kid, I wasn't there with malicious intent.
Yeah.
And I think one of the brass there, thank God, recognized that. And now him and I are very close friends.
That's good.
That arrested me. And his kid and I are close friends too.
Yeah. I mean, Chases says the same thing.
And throughout the case, but I was one of those kids, so I can understand where they're coming from. Looking back at my own self now, I was pretty stupid. And I hope the younger kids realize that pretty soon.
Yeah. It's a tough one for me. Look, it's so easy. I'm 46 now. It's so easy to look back and be like, oh yeah, blah, blah, in my age, when we were kids, we went street racing in New York. It was the standard thing on the weekend.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was dangerous. I didn't think what we were doing.
Except you didn't have social media, and there's nothing really for you to self-snitch with.
Yeah, and there was also no clout chasing as much.
Yeah,
that wasn't as big of a thing. Mm-hmm. I've mentioned this before, but it was when Fast and Furious came out, it sort of changed because I was into cars before that, and all of a sudden a lot of outsiders from the community started showing up, and we're just doing dumb things and this is before drifting was even big, would just be swerving cars down the road and then would crash into a bunch of cars, and that type of stuff would happen at the street races.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen previously, but it didn't in any ways feel
there's
as
something
wild
inside
as
of
what
you.
the Takeovers. But I understand what my attraction to that was, and it was fun to go.
Yeah.
And it was fun when the cops came to run back to your car and get out of there. So I totally understand that. I think
fun to watch people crash too.
Yeah, I mean, all of it was, it's a scene, especially when you're 19, 20 years old, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I also grew up, in the punk rock scene, and it was fun to go to crazy parties and have be at events where people are shooting fireworks off in the building, everyone's losing their mind. So I'm not so far removed from that to be I don't know why they're doing that. It's I get it. I think one of the disappointing parts, and I don't think people talk about this a lot, is that one of my main goals in my sort of time is both I was a magazine writer, obviously I ran Hoonigan and all the other stuff I do in car community is I want to bring younger people into car community, right? So the Takeover has become something that is this big sort of trending thing in cities. Every city has it, including in Europe. It is everywhere now. We see it everywhere. It has grown out of Oakland and lives in the whole world now, right?
It's actually not that bad in Oakland.
What? I know. Now Oakland has it under control, right?
Yeah.
Where these sideshows started, right? But we now it's how do you take the people who are going there, like yourself, like Chases, to these guys, and really sort of convert them into enthusiasts instead of them just being menaces. Right,
I don't want to throw him under the bus too, but Chases was also one of those kids.
That's what I said, you and Chases, because Chases came on the show and
Yeah.
said, I used to love Takeovers, and now
he admitted it.
And he's and now I fucking hate him.
Yeah.
And I think, I am not the kind of person who wants to close the door to those people. I want to be all right, cool, that happens, everyone has that, but now how do we think of another path out for the people who are in Takeover culture because they actually enjoy the cars and they enjoy the action of the cars? Because, look, I'm going to be very, honest here. What we did at Hoonigan, even though everything we did was legal, I'm sure had a level of influence on what is happening out there because we were sliding cars around in small little spots, the burn yard, all of that. And we weren't taking that from Oakland sideshow stuff. We were just we had a building in Long Beach. We didn't have a lot of room, and it was fun to throw donuts. And that became a content piece for us that obviously expanded from there, and it obviously influenced that. But it would be really cool to be able to take a piece of that and really bring it back into a world where it was legal and fun and not something that has all of the law enforcement in every single city making every car enthusiast a criminal, right? Like that would be a good fix. So how do we do it? It's up to you. Now that you're friends with the police.
I mean, I would I have some people high up there that I'm friends with, but then like the people that can make changes, like, you know, hopefully my circle of people that I know one day, you know, promote and grow older and are in positions of power where I can, like, you know, maybe like give them ideas or work with them. Right now there's nothing I can do or anyone that I know can do.
Yeah.
Or change anything, as a matter of fact.
How do you think, though, I mean, even without the police side of it, when you look at the community that you saw at Takeovers, like how many of them do you think are either real car enthusiasts or like...
I think more than a lot of people think, sadly.
Okay.
Sadly.
Because I think we all want to believe they're not, because we want to
100%.
create this like us versus them thing, right?
100%. Yeah, but I think there's sadly a lot of people that actually like cars that are just sitting there clueless.
Right. And there isn't something else for them, and this is something that's really exciting. They
and
have
it's free.
access to, and it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now all these racetracks are shutting down. But we spoke about that already. I think there's unfortunately a lot of, you know, I think a solid. I want to stick with my statement. I think about half of them are actually there with nefarious intent.
Right.
Where they want to sell drugs, or like, you know, there's a lot of drug sales happening. And balloon sale, like NOS sales happening.
I'm gonna sound so old. Kids still do NOS. That's crazy.
It's
Whippets?
It's huge.
Is it really big now?
Huge.
I was actually I was sitting in Long Beach, down by the beach at Rosie Dog Park, and I was working in my van.
Oh yeah, I go there too.
Really?
Yeah.
I go there to just sit and work
Yeah.
by the beach because you can sit right next to the sand.
You go to that restaurant on there?
No. The one that's over
dog
the
restaurant?
Yeah. And
I was just there.
Yeah, and these kids pulled up next to me and just started cracking, you know, nitrous, and just started blowing up balloons. And I looked over at them, and they looked at me, and I was like, I didn't know people still did that. And they just laughed and rolled the windows up. Like it was like a big thing in the 90s, but I guess it's back.
I mean, you still go to the gas station and buy NOS bottles.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a gas station.
When we were kids, we had to go to like kitchen supply places, but no one.
Yeah,
was
no.
listening
There's
should
like
do that,
there's
but-
a gas station on. Actually, I'm not even gonna say it, but
yeah, huh?
there's a gas station on somewhere that like I walk into, and there's a whole, what do you call those things? Array of NOS bottles in all sorts of different flavors and all sorts of different brands, and I'm
they
like,
flavor them now too. Wow.
yeah,
Crazy.
and it's incredible.
Definitely
It's-
not something
it's-
you should be doing while driving.
And when I go to the aftermath of takeovers, because sometimes there's like shootings there, and I'll go
of
check
course.
those out after everyone left. Yeah, there's 100% like just bottles of NOS like everywhere, especially people leave in a hurry, because like those dealers will bring out the giant bottles. Sometimes they'll leave them behind. Yeah, and there's always like those things laying around, like those industrial, commercial big bottles that you refill.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always those. And there's a lot of drug sales, drug transactions. Last weekend, actually, this guy had a bunch of drugs in his backpack, didn't want to give it up, and then got shot in the head. And then somehow in that process, some girl also got involved. I don't know if she got shot or got hurt, but there was a kid like lying face flat with a bullet hole in his head, and a backpack full of drugs.
Is that become more prevalent? Because 3 years ago, when I was way more sort of, because I was still at Hoonigan, I was paying more attention to this. I was asking the police, and they said that while they were finding guns, there really weren't a lot of people being killed at takeovers at the time. And because of that, it became sort of like a low priority issue for the department, because like, yes, it's a nuisance and it's causing a huge problem in the neighborhood, but like people were getting hit by cars, but they actually really weren't getting too badly hurt, and that they weren't having too much problems. But it sounds like that's changed.
Every weekend there's a shooting at a takeover. Whether someone gets hurt or not, depends. Maybe once a month in LA, at least. Like,
and do you think that's getting progressively worse, or has that always sort of been there?
I mean, I've been listening to scanners for 10 years, and in the last 10 years, no, it's just people.
That's it.
Shooting at a takeover. If there is a takeover, it's the category of the call for LAPD is reckless drivers, and reckless drivers like one of the lowest priority calls.
Right.
So unless the street racing enforcement unit is out, which that I don't know.
A single cop car can't do anything at a takeover.
No,
they can't even get access.
So they used to
it.
box, but a judge from like the 9th District Circuit, whatever, ruled that boxing people in from intersections is unconstitutional.
Explain for the audience what boxing means.
So they'll come intersection north, south, west, east. Like they'll have like 3 or 4 units, or 5, 6, 7, whatever units. Slowly box everyone in and not allow that entire crowd of people to leave, and then zip tie everyone because they don't have 150 handcuffs. So they'll zip tie everyone, ID everyone, tow every car, and give everyone a misdemeanor citation or book him for spectating a takeover. And spectating a takeover is still illegal. You can't be within like 150
same thing
feet.
with street racing.
Los Angeles Municipal Code. But yeah, same with street racing. Actually, if one guy is doing a donut and there's nobody in the audience but yourself, and you're still standing there watching this guy doing a donut and filming it, that also is illegal.
You're just like walking across the street.
Yeah. You're still spectating.
What do you think are the percentages of actually owned cars versus stolen cars at takeovers?
Well, most of them are owned because they're mostly owned by the spectators. But the cars that are doing the donuts,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
are.
Because
I don't know,
everyone's driving them like they're stolen.
Yeah,
like,
I don't
people are
know,
smashing into each other and don't seem to care at all.
But I think 90%. I saw a Ford GT at a takeover once. That's for sure owned. Yeah,
I was about to ask you, what's the craziest cars you've
Ford
seen?
GT. Just swinging it on like Manchester and Avalon. Just yeah. And the 911
like
call came out.
$300,000 plus car now, right? Yeah. So
600,000.
Are they that much? Oh, wow.
A call came out. A 911 call was generated by someone that clearly liked or knew their cars, and then there's like no fucking way there's a Ford GT swinging at a takeover, and I was like, maybe they misconstrued it with a Mustang GT, right? And lo and behold, there's a takeover, and there's a Ford GT, and I'm like, is this guy really going to swing it? And then he came out and just started doing donuts again, and I'm like, holy crap.
So now that you're sort of doing, what do you call what you do? Like, what do you refer to it? What's the
official word is stringing. Stringers.
Stringers.
Yeah,
I've never
you
heard
call
that
people
before.
myself stringers. Nobody knows it though.
What's the etymology?
I have
behind that?
no freaking clue.
Huh.
But like ever since like the 80s or before I was even born, people do what I do are called stringers. A lot of cops know that terminology, and then they started using, hey, it's a stringer over there, a stringer over here.
Hey, by the way, Nick pulled up the etymology of it. What is it?
This is fun. So a stringer is a term referring to a freelancer who contributes writing, photos, or videos to a press agency, news agency, or other news organization. That's the context I always knew it in as a photographer, and they frequently would collaborate with law enforcement. So a stringer is an associated.
You knew what you've heard of that word? Oh, okay.
I have.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He was a photographer.
Oh,
so,
okay. Yeah. But that's what you call the more official people, not like the TikTokers. And now so many people are live streaming this, and which I don't know how, because they're all driving like a fucking bat out of hell, running red lights, and live streaming it to get to these calls.
So you don't live stream?
Hell no.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I might, but it's not going to be this.
Yeah. And everyone's on Kick and whatever.
Yeah, everyone's on Kick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the cops that don't know the word stringer started thinking that they were saying streamers, so now they just call everyone streamers. Because like people are streaming and there are streamers now.
Right.
This is all within the last 2 years or a year.
Okay.
And
it's a pretty big community, huh? It was
now it is.
Yeah. How many people are your age versus like old school dudes doing this? Like, what's the mix?
Well, all the old school guys are still out, but they're like, when I started doing this 10 years ago, it was like me and like 3 dudes, and they're all like, one's in their 40s, another one's in their 40s, another one's in their like 30s, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then I started doing Snapchat. My Snapchat stories in 1 year did like 11 billion views, which is like
insane.
That's why I was saying, like, I've never even gotten 1 billion views.
Yeah.
On anything. And so, when I started doing that, see, like, I don't know, there's no official science for me posting on my Snapchat to having all these streamers come out now. But I started doing my Snapchat stuff 2024, 2025, beginning of 2025. All of a sudden, at every pursuit termination, every car crash, every structure fire, there's like 20 people live streaming it. And that's all new. That's all like 1 year old.
Is that now? Does that sort of create a little bit of a chase between everyone to get there first?
Yeah.
Because you want to be able to break it first.
Oh yeah, and somebody's gonna kill themselves.
Yeah, and imagine that's creating its own problem.
That's a part of the reason why I kind of stopped doing it. I used to be out like 10 hours a day. My day, you asked me this a while ago, my day would be like wake up at 7 p.m., edit till 10 p.m., go out 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., edit again for 3 hours, post for an hour, go to sleep. I did that for a year straight. And then that it gave me mental health issues because I was doing nothing else but that. But now I only go out. I like listen at home, listen to the scanner, and then I'll like go out if there's a chase. But I'm not out like driving around in circles, going to every single car crash.
How'd you get introduced to this? Listening to police scanners and like what was it that?
Shot in the Dark, the Netflix show that I saw when I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Right in front of my house, there was a crash that I was in my Huracan. I was 18. No, I was 17 or something like that. And I like drove out of my house and then there was a car crash. And then the guy from Shot in the Dark was standing there. And I'm like, holy shit, I saw you on Netflix. I'm a huge fan. And then we connected and then he said like, hey man, you want to join me one night? Like you got a cool car. And then we talked about, he didn't know who I was, but, like we talked and then he brought me out and then I'm like, this is fucking sick. And he also mentioned to me that like, I'll never forget that one day where he brought me out for the first time. And he was like, this is one of the craziest days I've had. Maybe it's like, maybe you have some weird luck, but like it was this guy's who's been doing this for like 15 years, his craziest days ever had. So imagine what I saw.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to shootings, after dead bodies, after chases, after car crashes, after people on fire and cars on fire. And I was like, the dopamine rush I got from like, we're on our way to the next call, the adrenaline rush I got was like, insane. And like that week I went and bought a Chevy Caprice and sent it to a police outfitter and had them put all the radios in it. I'm like, all right, his name is Scott. So I was like, Scott, what do I get? And then he told me all the stuff to get, all the scanners to get. And then I just did it I ran that thing as a hobby for like 8 years.
And you were doing it just privately for yourself. No one really.
It was
knew.
always with friends.
Yeah.
It was like I never went out solo back then. It was like, hey, like you got to come see this, and it would change people. It would like change the way people think about driving or like drinking and driving, especially.
Does it? You mentioned the mental health side of it, and I assume one part of that is just this livelihood where your whole life is at night and you're kind of living opposite from everyone else. But do you ever think about sort of the effect of like just all you're seeing every day? Like, because I imagine you've seen some really fucked up shit.
Yeah, and I can tell you. I've some of the fucked up shit. I've
definitely driven past accidents and been like, well, I wish I didn't see that. Like I saw a motorcycle's head get torn off in a crash, and it still sits with me. And I saw it when I was like 22. You know,
I've completely checked out from it at this point, and a lot of the cops get called out for being insensitive all the time.
Yeah,
like they'll be seen in videos like laughing and making jokes in front of a dead body, and that's actually a coping mechanism, psychological coping mechanism to like crack jokes so that you don't get so attached to like that's the scene you're in. And I find myself being extremely insensitive around deceased people, and I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe I just made that joke. But like, I don't think I'm a terrible person, right? But like, I'm just here like in the beginning
because it
days,
starts to just feel like work. I mean, I have friends who work in the ER, and they're like, at a certain point, you can't care about everything.
Like, if you one of the most mind-blowing things today that I still see is the way medical examiners handle dead bodies. And I'm sure like all they do is handle dead bodies for 20 years. So what is a dead body to you? Just work, just a piece of paper and a file folder, right? But like a couple nights ago, like these two like medical examiners were like laughing their ass off about like one of their jokes, and like they pulled up to a scene and like saw all these cameras, and they were trying to contain their laughter, but there was like a guy, like a mutilated guy, and they were like, and then everyone left, and like the way dead bodies get treated is like so undignified, but how can you blame them? Like, it's how can you? Everyone's human, and like, you can't call somebody insensitive if you're not in their shoes. Like you don't know what they're doing. And to some people, they still might feel the psychological effects of it, and joking about it is simply just a psychological reflex that they're having to cope with it, because it is so traumatizing. And there's a word for it. I actually read all about the psychology. But people will what's a cop gonna do? I'll ask one of my cop buddies, hey, you bored? You're not doing anything? Let's go get some tacos, and I'll meet up with them during their shift, and then, we're all laughing, and I'm like, hey, so what'd you do today? He's like, oh, I just came from a triple fatal, and I'm like, what the fuck are you laughing about this? But then now I understand. I'm like that.
You
sadly.
disassociate.
Yeah, and my girlfriend's calls me all the time, you're the most insensitive piece of shit human being. And I'm like,
that's kind of
okay, well, if you say it like that, and if I think about it, and if I start learning about this person's story, I've never seen this dead person while they're alive, but sometimes I look into it, and sometimes I'm like, oh wow, this is a 15-year-old kid, and I learn about their stories, I get really fucking sad. But now it's just the only time I get sad is if there's a relative. There was a time where this 12-year-old girl just became an orphan right in front of me.
Mm.
And that made me pretty fucked up. I did not sleep. But that was also after I was already desensitized to all this, and I never thought I could possibly see anything that would bother me.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched a girl, I don't know how old she was, but she was a kid, super young girl, lose both their parents right in front of me, and I'm that I almost wanted to do something. I don't know. Right. I felt helpless. Yeah. But that was rough. But that was not too long ago. That was a year ago, and even a year ago myself, if I saw a dead body, I would think nothing of it. I've given, I've.
Do you remember the first time you saw a dead body?
Yes.
Yeah. What did that feel like?
Oh, terrible. I couldn't sleep, and had nightmares over it. First time I saw a dead body, it was on Santa Monica and Western, and I remember it. It was 10 years ago, and I remember it it was yesterday. First 10 times I saw a dead body, I remember it it was yesterday.
Yeah.
If you cannot ask me what dead body I saw last night, I would not remember it. But I remember the first dead body I saw it was fucking yesterday.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've unfortunately seen dead bodies, and I don't know, growing up in New York City in a crazy time, it was something that unfortunately, I saw more dead bodies than I'd like to over in just random situations.
ODs and shootings and stuff.
Yeah. And it's funny because I do think that I too, like you, had a lack of empathy around it. It was just well, this is the life, right? This is what happens, right? And then I had a child, and that very much changed my empathy on things. It completely woke me up to a different thing, to the point where I see vagrants asking for money, and old me would be like, these motherfuckers. And now new me is that's someone's kid. That could be someone's brother. It changes the way you see it, I think. I don't know. At least for me, it was having a child really brought out the empathy, and just you telling the story of some kid being orphaned. I'm that's sounds horrible, but but I get it. I mean, I have a lot of friends who served in the military and saw horrible things and had to do horrible things, and they will be very honest with you that joking about it is the only way to deal with it. The comedy is therapeutic.
Nobody gets it.
If you talk to them one-on-one, it's a different story, but when there is a group,
nobody gets it.
It's funny because it has to be, because what else are you going to do but cry, so it's you might as well kind of laugh kind of thing. So but it's interesting because do you sort of feel like you follow a journalistic code in the way you kind of do things and how you approach things?
More and more I do.
Okay.
I definitely did not. I used to intervene on everything.
Yeah.
Or get involved when we were there, but now.
Yeah. Well, just before when you said that you felt like you wanted to do something for this little girl, and that's a journalistic thing. When I went to journalism school, and
nice.
And they said, I never graduated, but whatever. but I did take a lot of classes. But there was this conversation that said, a person's falling off a cliff, and you can either take the photo of them falling, or you can save them. What do you do? And then everyone
Photojournalism is take the photo.
Photojournalism take the photo.
Yeah.
And it's like if you answer, and 70% of the class always answers, I'd save them. Right. And the teacher says you're never going to be a good journalist. Like a good journalist is to be there and not to intervene and not to involve yourself and just to tell the story, because your photo will be more valuable and has a larger impact than saving one life or something like that, which is like a really hard thing, I think, for most people to wrap their heads around.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that was taught to me in a college setting, you know.
I have a friend of mine. I don't know if he likes me still or not, but I have a friend of mine that
you have acquaintances and then you have friends who don't like you.
Never know. Yeah, he always tells me to push that, and I'm like, I don't know, like I have clear chances to like save somebody, and I always do, and he always gives me shit for it. And
have you shown up to scenes where you're the first person, like you're basically the first person to show
90% of the time, I am the first person to show up.
So what do you do? Like, what do you do in a situation like that? You show up and there's something that like someone needs to get out of a car. Like, do you just show up and take the journalistic position and just film it and wait, or do you intervene?
I intervene.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether it's a good thing or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I in like a high stress situation like that, I just do it without thinking, right? And my do is just like intervene.
Do you have any stories you can share, or? I know it's weird because today, being a good Samaritan, you can get sued for. So
yeah, it's crazy.
That's why doctors don't raise their hand on planes anymore when they say, "Is there a doctor on the plane?" Because they're more likely to get sued for helping you than they are going to be thanked for it. So
yeah, there's a time where like this guy was like, you know, actually, I don't think anybody realizes like how dangerous the freeway is at 3 a.m. If your car's blacked out, like you will get hit. I go to like every car stalled in the middle of the street and watch their cars get smoked all the time. And then I bought this laser light. It's not a laser pointer. It's a laser light that can pan. It's like on a joystick, and I pan it and I just beam it onto a blacked out car that's in the middle of the freeway. And is that intervening? Yeah, for sure. But ever since I got that, like that laser system was like $5,000. It was not cheap. And I don't know what I was thinking when I bought it, but if you're on the side of the freeway and you're out there with your phone flashlight just waving and like telling people to slow down, that's making it worse, because now these people are going to stare at you and they're not going to see what's in front of them and they're going to kill somebody.
Right.
But if I figured out like if I can bring attention to whatever is blacked out, and like, so now my procedure now is if I see a car blacked out in the middle of the freeway, I'll black out my car. As long as I'm in a safe spot on a shoulder, I'll always try to find a safe spot. I'll be before the car so I don't get hit with debris, but I'll be before the car and I'll point the laser at whatever blacked out person, car, whatever it is. And that's the most I'll do now. Is like, I won't go risk my life ever. But like ever since I got that device, I haven't seen a crash myself. And sadly, very sadly, like all my journalism friends, like actual professional stringers, give me shit for it. And like, man, like we have money to make out here, you know? Cause
there was interesting. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
That you're basically preventing
them from making money. Yeah. I'm preventing breaking news from like being a crash. And before I got this laser system on my car and lit up this car, I saw somebody crash into a blacked out car in the middle of the freeway at 2 a.m. at least once a week.
Wow.
At least once a week. And I would go to these calls for like these traffic 1125 traffic hazard calls, just knowing that somebody's gonna hit it. And at first, I like I had strobing lights on my car too back then. Then I turned on my lights, and then a CHP officer was like, "Hey, people are probably crashing into these cars because they're looking at you. Not like you're legally at fault, but you're standing there like on the shoulder like a fucking Christmas tree, and they're distracting them.
Yeah.
So then I just completely blacked out. I would stand on the side of the freeway behind some sort of cover like K-rails or something, blacked out and like not film it, and just hope and pray like And then I don't know, I just felt helpless, and I'm not a great journalist, so. And then I just I was like, oh, I should get a spot, like a really fucking bright spotlight. And then, this laser, how it works is super cool. You can't even see the source light. You can't see where this laser is coming from. So from your POV, all you're seeing is like a fucking sunlight in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And like, oh, hey, maybe that's like I think it looks, or I know so, it looks like a car is driving at you head on from the POV of the person. So they move out of the way. Like I've never seen somebody crash into a car ever since I got. And like,
it's something people don't realize. I mean, even just like pulling off to the side of the road to get your tire changed is a huge, like, and changing your tire is so dangerous. I've had friends pull out the side of the road because they got hit by a car and then get hit by a truck on the side of the road. So it's like you've already gotten hit by a car, you pulled over and you're there waiting, and then you get wrecked by a truck. And now you're like no longer have your seatbelt on. You're like you're sitting in the car, not ready for it. Yeah. Super dangerous.
I think after the hours of like, that's why, you know, when you get a learner's permit, like they don't let you drive drive after 11 p.m. because it is dangerous. Like, and I see it firsthand. And if you like get off the freeway, the shoulder's not safe. That's my advice for people. Is like, from what I've seen, like I've seen so many people get smoked on the shoulder because they'll look at you and fixate on and target fixate on you. Yeah. I've had close calls too. I've had to jump out of the way many times.
Oh, I bet.
Because I'm standing there with my phone and people are looking at me, and these DUI drivers just go straight into you. It's incredible. I've had to jump out of my way to save my ass like many times. But now I've been pretty good about like just jumping over the K-rail. I park my car on the shoulder. If my car gets smoked, at least it's not my life. And then I just hop over the K-rail.
All right, let's rewind all the way back. So you did mention in the beginning, so I won't ask you the question of how you got into cars. You said the Gymkhana films were part of that inspiration, but I mean, you got into cars really early, had cars really early, and that's kind of what you were known as, was sort of this young teenager who had these crazy cars. How did that all come together?
Just honestly, as cliche as it sounds, the Fast and Furious movie, Gymkhana, and Top Gear.
Yeah, that's a good collection.
That's like all it is. If it weren't for that, I would not be a car person. Maybe I would have found inspiration elsewhere, but and then like my two most notable, or my most notable videos is like I think Gymkhana 3, and then where like Ken's like doing the donuts around the chimpanzee on the Segway. Is that 3 or 4?
That's 4.
Yeah. So like that was like a video that I probably rewatch an unhealthy amount of times.
Oh, okay.
Like maybe like legitimately like 100, and I'd like force all my friends to watch it. Like, it's the coolest.
That's the one we shot at Universal Studios, right?
Yeah. With the wrecked 747 in the background and stuff.
Oh no, so that one, the wrecked one. Yeah.
I might be mixing up.
No, you're right. No,
I might be mixing up.
That's Universal Studios.
Okay. Yep. I might be mixing all them up, but what made me want exotic cars is 2 videos. Is the one video of Richard Hammond reviewing the Lamborghini Aventador on Top Gear.
Okay.
That was like also a video I watched 100 times. And then Chris Harris drifting the McLaren P1 on Yas Marina.
I know it very well. Chris is a good buddy of mine. He's a ripper.
The only reason why I have a P1 and I saved up my whole life to get a P1 is because of Chris Harris in that video. So like that was a car that I liked before I even knew anything about cars. Like I didn't even, when was that video? Like 2013, 2014? Probably, it was 2 years before I had a driver's license, and I didn't even know the difference between a V6 and a V8.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I need that car. And then, so once I started making money, a P1's a P1, right? And then I was like, the Aventador is still on my list. I like Child of the Dream cars, but there's so many fucking different versions now, and they're all like mileage rolled back, and now they're so expensive, and you can either spend $200,000 on an Aventador or $1 million on an Aventador. I'm like, oh, fuck this. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with Aventadors. But like the P1 is like the P1 and a Chris Harris and Ken Block and Gymkhana are probably the only reason why I'm into cars. And I'm like, that's the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I'm happy I could have played a part in that. So, yeah.
If it weren't for that, I would not be into cars at all.
Yeah. No, Chris Harris also is he's such an amazing talent. Like his ability to slide a car around and then with perfect composure speak to camera is such a skill. It's such a skill.
In the P1 video, he got so emotional that he couldn't, I don't know if he was faking it or not, but he got so emotional that he didn't even want to narrate and just wanted to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
And I was watching that as a 13-year-old kid going, I need to experience what that fucker is experiencing at one point in my life. So.
It's usually rude to ask people how they make their money, but obviously you were able to afford a lot of cars early on.
Yeah.
And you did a lot of investment stuff. Is that kind of what was your background?
Social media.
Okay.
Like I posted one, first of all, I don't have any bills. I still live with my parents. Still do, actually, unfortunately. Actually, fortunately. Asians are very, like, big family.
Yeah.
My mom has a really big house. My mom is super successful. So, like, honestly, like, money was never a hurdle in my life.
Right.
As ignorant as that statement is to say, I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't. So, we can open a whole can of worms about this, but when I was, like, 13 or 12 or 13, I got diagnosed with a brain tumor, and my mom was like, oh, this kid's going to die. And then before that, I was very, like, my mom convinced me that we were a very poor household. And after that, she, like, really spoiled me, and, like, bought me whatever the fuck I wanted. Because the doctor was like, hey, this kid's going to have, like, 3 years to live. So... Did you end up just being benign?
Told that or
no?
Okay,
no.
So you didn't know, but your mom feared that.
Yeah. I mean, I saw her crying every day, and she's like, "Oh, you just have like a disease." But then at the same time, my grandfather, so my mother's father, had a stroke and like went into a coma for the next 10 years of his life, within the same month. So I was like. To me, I was like, oh, my mother's just crying about her father. So I didn't know, but she was crying about both things. So every day she was like crying and upset. But then I was like, as a kid, I'm like, Mom, I want this, I want that. And then, all of a sudden she started buying me everything. So there's to answer your question, that's how I got a lot of things when I was like 15 years old that a 15-year-old shouldn't afford. And then I remember I made a video. It was like launching my Lamborghini, and like I picked up like it was like a rental Huracan, and I picked up like every girl in my high school and like fucking drove like a maniac. And that video got millions of views. And that video, I think it's like at like 80 or 90,000 now dollars.
Oh wow. And this was all YouTube?
It was all YouTube, yeah. And 50 grand as a 16-year-old kid is like unheard of.
Yeah.
So I like went and bought an M2 the next day, or the moment I got the check for that. And then I was like, I'm going to be a car YouTuber. So, and then didn't realize like that was just like a once in a lifetime virality. I've never gotten that many views since, until I did Snapchat.
Right.
And then that humbled me real quick. And then,
but you had a lot of really successful stuff over the years.
Yeah.
How would you sort of like, what was your process in thinking like what I'm going to do like for creating videos? Was it something you'd come up with an idea and then just go do it? Or was it like a group of people who were thinking up stuff and how, or was it just sort of things that were happening and you kind of captured them?
It was a case by case basis. Like I always thought I was like running out of ideas all the time, but then like, in reality, I wasn't, and I had so many ideas, and I have so many people around me. I'm so lucky to have my friends. My friends are so fucking creative, and half of them have just like salary jobs, and I keep telling them every day, bro, leave your job and like make a company or do something with your creativity. Anyways, so yeah, 80% of my ideas are my friends, my like like 3 of my very close friends. You should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, holy shit, that's a great idea. So, that's where most ideas come from, I think.
What do you like consider yourself now? Because before you said like, I want to become a car YouTuber, and obviously like that had its limitations. Like if someone asks you like, what are you? What are you today?
Either a car YouTuber or a stringer or whatever they want to call me.
Yeah.
I'm not like a professional stringer, or at least I don't act that way. I have all my credentials. On paper, I'm a professional stringer, but I definitely don't act that way. So I don't know, whatever you want to call me. I'm just a dude.
I ask because like I don't know, like some people see themselves as like on-screen talent. Some people see themselves like I see myself more as the creative. Like I'm only on screen because it made sense, but like I really enjoy the making of it all. But I know there's a part of you that does that too, like that. Not to bring up other things you've been arrested for, but like the fireworks and Lamborghini thing was clearly something that was like a creative concept. You guys thought that out. You went and filmed it. Looked sick. May not have gotten the right permits and gotten into some trouble for it. But look, I've done pyro I wasn't supposed to. I just did it in foreign countries. It's a little less likely to catch up with you on.
That whole incident was, I was very shocked at how I got no hate for that.
Yeah.
I, like almost got no, I mean, besides the fact that I got arrested, like people were very supportive of the situation I was in.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone was potentially put in harm's way. Right, so like there wasn't a safety issue other than
there's for sure a safety issue.
Well, the people who were on set,
but they knew,
but they had signed up for the job. Where like the Tesla jump, there was obviously a car that got hit, other people. It's an open space.
That was controversial.
Some kid could have walked out into the street and gotten killed. Right, like that's obviously a place where the hate hate is deserved.
Yeah,
but I think for that one, I mean, when I saw it, I was like, oh shit, that looks sick. And then I heard that you were getting hit with federal crimes or something on it, and I was like, that's a bummer. I get it. Like you're breaking the law because you were, Fireworks California, so on and so on, filming, and also
the only law that I
the minute helicopters get involved, there's like all of the laws you have to follow. So like,
now you're dealing with the feds.
Yeah, I've flown helicopters 20 feet off the deck on the Las Vegas Strip, and it's like the amount of planning that goes into that, and the amount of insurance that goes into that is insane. So like, having done it the legal way, like I know everything that's involved, but I think to the average viewer, it's like, oh, it looked sick, and you just didn't follow the right permits. So. But
I reached out to like the federal investigators like recently. I wrote them an email. I'm like, hey, how do I do this the legal way? And none of them answered me.
I mean, there's ways to do it. Pyro is definitely a big, like, you entered a whole other category by firing pyro out of a helicopter. But there's ways to do it. It happens all the time.
I would love to remake that video legally.
Yeah, I mean, I know a bunch of stunt coordinators who and helicopter pilots who can figure that stuff out. I mean, you've seen me do helicopter stuff in the Gymkhana films with Travis and things like that. Like it's all legal. You just have to convince somebody to do it, and a lot of it is the pre-production of going. This is how we're going to do it. Here's what's going to happen if it goes wrong. This is this. It just costs money. Right?
I mean, sadly, nobody wants to work with me anymore because I have that on my record. And people are like, oh, I don't. Helicopter pilots are like, oh, you've been arrested for helicopter shit. I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
So like, there's a hate that. There's a hate that I get, in that sense. But like from the public, everyone's like, oh, you're going to jail.
What do you think are the things? I mean, since you brought it up, what do you think are the things that like you feel like you got the most hate for in your career?
The Tesla jump.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Easily the Tesla jump. 2022. Yeah, probably one of the worst years of my life.
Do you regret that now?
Yeah.
And you didn't do it. You didn't do it yourself. You just sort of created the content for it.
Yeah.
Right.
I glorified it, and then I mean that's part of that was my learning experience of like, if somebody wants to do dumb shit, I don't want to be part of it. Like even being there, you're a part of it. And that was like when I learned that's when I was like, oh, okay, just because somebody's doing donuts in the intersection, but I'm not, but I just want to be there, but I'm not the one doing the donuts. That doesn't mean that you're not a part of it.
Right.
You're there, you went with that person, you know that person, you help them in a sense of like, hey, like,
right, because it was your meat and all of that. Yeah. It's interesting because now you've crossed over into this other space where you're responding to things that are already happening and covering them, right? So you're not really creating the situation, you're telling the story of it. I think about this a lot with takeovers because when I was an automotive journalist back in the mid 2000s, like we did a feature on sideshows, and we knew it was illegal, but we covered it with a non-biased view of like, hey, this is this illegal event. Like, this is obviously a problem. We interviewed people in Oakland, like, you know, what they were doing to try to prevent them. But then we also interviewed guys who'd been a part of the culture since the 80s, and it was like a community thing for them. And we told sort of both sides of the story. And I think about it now, like if I was still in the same position, like I would 100%, you know, enjoy telling the story of what is takeover culture because it's just something that's interesting, good or bad. There's something there. But I think you found yourself in a place where because you were part of the creation of it, you were like it wasn't like you weren't able to separate yourself as the like I'm the journalist here.
Yeah.
So I set that up because now do you find that you get to cover these sort of amazing things that people obviously want to see, but you have a line drawn where you are separated from it. Do you find yourself?
Well, if I had a line drawn and
more?
I'm separated from it, I'd be a great journalist.
Where do you feel like you don't draw the line?
Just making sure people don't crash.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a blacked out car. That's really it. Just making sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think on that side you have a moral high ground actually, because
Well, I get a lot of shit for it.
Of course.
I get a lot of shit for it.
I was classically trained as a journalist and started my career not in cars, started my career more in pop culture and wrote stories on gentrification and all these different things that were hard subjects. So like I understand that side of it, but I also probably when I was younger, I'd like to believe I wouldn't grab the person's hand and I'd take a photo. But now that I'm older, I would grab the person's hand so they don't fall off the cliff. You know what I'm saying? I think it's really hard to draw that line. I wanted to be a war photographer when I was younger. I was in journalism school when 9/11 happened, and I wanted to go tell the story of what was happening over there. And I wanted to do it non-embedded.
You were going to go to Afghanistan?
Yeah, I wanted to do that. That's what I wanted to go do. I'm happy I didn't now that I'm older in life because like I don't know if like it sounded like something I really wanted to do when I was younger. I think it would have been a really difficult place to be. I think, and not just because
of the
not because of the danger, but because of the experience.
What you
like, you'd see, and how that might shape you, and how it does take a bit of.
There's a lot of things that a human brain was never designed to see.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was asking you about that before. With like seeing mutilated bodies is horrific. Like I've unfortunately
Yeah, I mean,
had
seeing
to
one
see
or
it.
twice, and I think I had a correct reaction when I first saw my first and second dead body, and I had a very normal human reaction because I think a human being, you know, throughout their life, like, sure, our brain's designed to take in the picture of a mutilated body once or twice, but not 1,000 times. And I think that's where I'm at. And I think anyone's brain's not designed to take that in. That's why you end up at corners that like mess around with people's dead bodies thinking it's nothing. Because it's just what the result of all that exposure. And are they a terrible person because of it? No, but are they like, do they lack empathy, and is empathy a good thing to have? Yeah. And yeah, no, you're right. Like if you went to Afghanistan and saw what you saw, like, would you come back a better person? Arguably no, arguably good, arguably yeah, but arguably no, because you would have lost all your empathy in life. And yeah.
Again, it's interesting. I don't know, and this is reaching the conversation a whole other place, but it's like I sometimes question if like we have the ability to deal with all the stuff that social media shows us.
No.
As like people, like
No.
tribally, we were these small groups, and you only dealt with a certain number of horrors in your life.
Doom scrolling.
And now it's like every day just feels like everything's horrible.
Yeah,
So
social media. Yeah, we're not meant to see all that shit on social media, and we're also not meant to watch porn.
No,
Like porn is terrible.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's the same thing, same effect. Like like a
desensitizes.
12-year-old kid shouldn't have access to 100,000 naked women.
yeah. Or even like that's one thing they shouldn't have access to. Sort of a version of sex that doesn't really exist in real life, right? Like, and be like, this is normal.
Yeah.
Like dual penetration is normal, you know?
A 12-year-old kid has access to more women now than a Roman emperor ever had.
Yeah.
So, and we're genetically we're the same people, you know?
Yeah. Do you find that you have to sort like, do you censor when you do find like a mutilated body? I mean, is this something you show or you don't show? Like, where do you draw your lines there?
I have like a subscription page,
Okay.
like on Instagram, and it's only it's the only reason why I use the subscription page is because Instagram's really good about protecting it from screenshots.
Oh, okay.
You cannot screenshot it. You can't even plug in like if you plug in like a hacking device. Like the only way to capture that photo is with another phone taking a photo of the iPhone.
Right.
So that's why I use my subscription page, and I also like I in my subscription page, the first thing you see is like, this is strictly journalistic things. It's unfiltered. I'm going to post everything I see, whether it's good, morally okay, or morally not to post, whatever. And like, I think I like have like a couple thousand people on there, but like they've signed up for it. That
Right.
Do I post it for the public to see and for like that person's relative to be doom scrolling and end up on their page? No. But like if and I'm very like journalistic about that stuff. I'm very like LOL dead body now. Like like it's very and I posted in a very journalistic way. This is exactly what happened. No opinions. Like this is what happened on this time of day at this location. This is what happened and this is what you see.
Yeah.
And this is what so those people on there kind of sign up for it. Would I ever post a mutilated body to the public for it to be shared a million times? Fuck no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can see that's where you start to get into like a weird world of like, if that was your family member or a loved one, like you definitely don't want that stuff out there. And there's because everyone has a phone now, we see so much more stuff that like we never saw. When I was younger and, I'm 20 years older than you, there was a series called Faces of Death. And it was like a VHS tape of like, things like bodies and people being killed and whatever. And then it's like, it was like it was this tape that like, I think I may have seen like clips of it, but I never saw the whole thing. But people would talk about it. It was like a legend thing. Like, oh, I saw the Faces of Death and this guy gets, murdered in it. And now it's like, you can find that shit like 2 clicks away on the internet. Like where back then it was this like lord VHS tape that like you couldn't rent at Blockbuster. It had to be like something that was like given from one person to another or bought off of like,
much harder.
Yeah, much harder. I mean, it was like, it wasn't that easy. And I think now it's
if Instagram algorithm notices that you like dead bodies, it'll just keep pushing dead bodies in your algorithm.
I have seen stuff on Instagram. I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't see that this morning. Like that's not something I wanted to see. So,
but I mean, people get desensitized to it eventually because they see so much of it and like not have the proper reactions to it when they actually see it. Like and end up like me, like genuinely. I don't know if you wouldn't be wrong if someone said you've become a terrible person because you are a terrible person because of the way you act and because of the reason why like all the stuff you've been exposed to. Is causing you to act this unempathetically. And if someone calls me insensitive and a terrible person, like I don't deny it. And
is this something you talk to a therapist about? Because it feels like you might want to.
Yeah. Okay. But then I find myself like I should be empathetic here, and but it goes back to like it's just what the result of like how first responders act, right? And are they all terrible people? No. Are they being terrible by being insensitive? I don't know, probably.
Well, I mean, look, I've read a lot of sort of stuff from first responders and, and spoken to some of our friends. And I think a lot of it, as you said before, it's a coping mechanism. Like you have to do your job. And sometimes to do your job, you have to disassociate from doing things or from paying attention to those things.
I mean, if that's a way for you to justify, you being completely unempathetic, then it's a good justification.
Well, I was just talking to a guy the other day. And he drives fire. He drives ambulances, right?
Yeah.
And I was telling him that I saw this ambulance. I've never seen an ambulance pushing like I did. Like he was like, on the horn, sirens on, in and out of oncoming traffic, just going for it. And he said, there was a kid in the bus. He's like, that's when you drive like that. He's like, you don't drive like that for old people. And it was just like it was just like he just said it. He's like, yeah, that's just the reality. He's like, there's probably a kid in the bus, and you're
I can't even get started
that.
With EMTs, man. They're not terrible people, but
of course
they
not.
all act terrible because.
But have you ever seen the movie Bringing Out the Dead? It's a Martin Scorsese film, and it's about this topic. It's about the topic of like how difficult it is to drive an ambulance, right, or with a bus, right, and like what and how difficult that is to deal with it, right, and how they all just disassociate, and and the things that come with that, right.
Does that make someone terrible?
I don't know if I'm the one to be the judge for it, but they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So like they're doing something that needs to be done, and if that's what they're
doing the Lord's work
to do that,
But man, I don't know that. Like if there's a someone bleeding out in the middle of the street, like unless it's a kid, every like ambulance like EMT, like I don't know. I just sometimes I see them like take their sweet ass time just coming out of the back of the car and like driving so slowly. Oh, all right, this person's dead. On to the next. Let's go back to sleep.
I guess there's an element of like you can't always be. And I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt in saying this, but it's like, and I'm sure there are people who listen to this who are EMTs, first responders. There's definitely a lot of police officers and stuff who, you know, when you do it every single day of your life, there's only a particular speed you can operate at, right? So like, I don't know, because I think we all want to believe that everybody is always operating at superhero stage, but you aren't. Like, you have own things going on in your life, and you do it enough that there is a bit of a taxing of it that I would think would happen. And I'll be honest, it's not something I think about often, but this conversation's been really interesting to me, and we probably spent a lot more time on this.
It's a
one
huge
piece.
debate. Yeah,
we probably spent a lot more time on just. I found this new chapter of your story, which is sort of, you know, being the stringer and doing that, to just it's like a real left turn to anyone who's watching from the outside. And like I said, I got to see your vehicle in person when I went to go up to hang out with Mongo. And I was like, this is crazy, like, to build a GT3 to just go do all of it.
I strip out all the scanners from inside the car too when I get to the dealer.
You bring it in. But I like saw the lights and saw how it was outfitted. And as like a tech nerd, like I kind of enjoyed that whole part. And it's been great to talk with you about it, because I think the motivation for it, for me, why you do it, I don't really fully understand. I get that you did it the first time, and I don't know if it's the rush for you or whatever, but it's definitely something that's interesting. I mean, is it the views? Because it's not the views, because you did it without telling anyone for 8 some odd years or whatever, right?
At first, it was just like
it's not about the clout or the views.
No, at first it was just the love of the game.
Yeah,
I did it for the love of the game. Like, I cannot deny that.
Yeah.
And then it was like views, and then it was like more money than I've actually ever seen in my life. Yeah, it was like
so there is a financial upside to it.
Yeah, it was a financial upside, and like I justified it where I was like, well, first of all, I never posted dead bodies on Snapchat,
right?
Ever. You can't even.
Yeah.
Not only is it a community guideline, like, I also just still stick by the point where, like, I would never post a dead body for millions of people to see. If I did, like, and I had to tell a story, then it was like someone's foot, and it was like, this person was deceased.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately it became like a very monetary thing, and like, it like shifted my life so much to the amount of money I made, that it like became such a chore and a job, and like I hated doing it. And then I stopped last September because I literally wanted to. I was going to therapy. I was like having mental health issues.
Yeah.
I was seeing more dead bodies than a human being should be seeing. Like, an EMT sees one dead body and then deals with it for the rest of the night.
Right.
I go out and see like 10 different dead bodies and listen to 10 different moms crying.
You're going to all the worst calls.
Yeah, all the worst calls. So arguably for that year, I don't want to be ignorant here, but like I saw more than like what one cop or like one EMT would see.
Yeah.
And
so are you not doing it anymore? Because you said you just had an incident last night. So
yeah, so I went out last night, but it's like twice a week now, and then I, instead of like 12 hours a day, like I said, I'd listen at my house, like, to the scanner, and like if a pursuit comes out and I know this person's a car guy and this guy's gonna be in a pursuit for 3 hours, hey, let's go out and make a fun video.
Right.
And that's like, it's on that basis now, and it's like much more of just it came back to just being a hobby for me.
Okay.
And
how often do you listen to the scanners though?
Every other night, at least every other night, or
does it feel a little?
Or like, but what I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast is having the connections everywhere in LA. That is more useful to me than like, I'm in this group chat right now, where like it's a group chat full of like 10 stringers, and like I will know within 30 seconds if like a call comes out just by being in that group chat. Like in our podcast, I was looking at my watch and I was getting a bunch of updates on that triple homicide in Hollywood. Like that group chat is like the most direct source of news that I have. And then like people will be like, hey, there's this call. Everyone will help each other out. And like there's this call, or like people will be like, hey, Alex, like, are you home? There's a pursuit near your house. So on that basis, I'll go out a lot, and then I'll like film it. But then like last year when I was doing this for the money, I found myself driving to the 1,000th car fire that I don't care about, driving like a bat out of hell, risking my life, risking everyone else's life to get there to film it. And that was dreadful. And I was driving very illegally, and like risking a lot.
Right, you're like you're potentially creating another call.
Exactly. To get to these calls, and then so I'm just glad that I'm not in that position anymore, having to do that. And I feel like I've just saved up enough money to like try to figure out, so not retired, but like
what the next chapter is.
Yeah. Okay. I figured it out. I know what I want to do actually. I just haven't done it yet, but I'm just like testing the waters right now. But I don't want to.
We can talk about
this. This is like a NDA.
You want someone to take your
NDA idea,
I get
but
that. Can I ask you a question? You can skip on it, but the way you talk about this and this thing that it's clearly it's exciting. It has a rush involved in it. Obviously, there's a financial upside to it. But you were doing this before there was a financial upside, so like this is clearly something that's there, and now you sort of realize it is probably bad for you on some levels.
100%.
Do you feel it's addictive? Like, does this feel like an addiction to
the
you?
dopamine rush? Yeah,
that's what I'm. Yeah.
The dopamine rush is like, man, when the LAPD or the dispatcher goes, all your units off frequency standby, like when anyone's in pursuit of like the dopamine rush, I still get it. I'm like, oh shit, and even cops get it too. Like I'll be like hanging out with off-duty cops, and like they've been on the workforce for 20 years, and they hear a person like, no way, like let's listen, like that dopamine rush from a pursuit. I don't know why people are just addicted to pursuits. Like police chases are like, people watch. That's why like the news still plays it. Like it's like they'll spend $3,000 on a helicopter to go play pursuits for a reason. Like people love watching it live, especially.
Yeah. I mean, that was big TV in California for a long time. I mean, I grew up in New York, and they would cut to car chases in Los Angeles just because people would watch it. Especially the aerial chases where you can see it all. From
Shout out OJ for like really kickstarting that, but
yeah, seriously,
yeah,
the most watched car chase of all time.
And ever since everyone cares about a police like. There's not a car person, a person that's into freaking makeup or something completely else. Like people will unite and sit in front of a TV to watch a live car chase.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Well, I mean, look at how good TV shows like Cops and when I was a kid, Rescue 911 and these things were all out. Like it was fun to watch that. And I guess in a lot of ways, your and current, sort of stringers are the modern day version of that because it's not really a TV show anymore.
Yeah, no. And TV's kind of dying, sadly, but yeah.
You say sadly. Is there a part of TV you miss, or is it just sad to see anything die?
I mean, TV's done so professionally and so well, and people like know what they're doing, and people would rather like watch somebody's Twitch stream over TV, But I'd rather if I'm going to spend time watching something, I'd rather watch something that has production value and like something that people have put care and a lot of time and money into making, versus somebody yapping on Twitch.
Why do you think that is, though? Why do you think the younger, newer generation cares about that?
I don't know. Streaming is incredible, and I personally don't watch any streamers.
Yeah, I don't even have Kick downloaded on my phone. Like I know what it is,
incredible, and I respect it.
Yeah,
I will never like undermine the next new thing, whether I like it or not, and I respect it. And like if I can, if I can get my foot in the water, and grab a piece of that pie, I would. Personally, I never watch streamers. I would never watch a streamer, or a stream, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I really respect it.
What do you watch? Like, what are the things you enjoy watching now? Do you
Nothing. I have so many hobbies. I'm very grateful that I have all these hobbies. I wake up out of bed and like I do something, whether it's work, productive, trying to figure out my next big thing. I've been for the last like year or like 7 months, ever since the beginning of this year, I've gone from like working 20 hours a day to getting 3 hours of sleep every day to like being able to like relax. And so I've been really enjoying that. And then I have so many hobbies that I can just go out and do, and I just get so excited. And I fixate on a hobby for like a month, and then I move on to the next hobby and the next hobby. And I come back to some hobby, and then I just keep moving on. So what do I watch? I don't watch TV. I don't watch streams. Who doesn't doom scroll? But I do doom scroll here and there. If I'm taking a shit, I'll fucking doom scroll. But I don't watch anything, and I try and do my best to like not consume anything. and just like go out and do something. I hate being a consumer. Like yeah, that's my big thing.
What are your current hobbies? What's like the top hobbies at the moment for you?
Right now, I am really I guess this goes back to being a consumer, but I'm really fixated on building PCs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like so weird because like all my other hobbies are like action.
Are you into gaming? Is that part of it, or do you just like the building of the machines?
I'm into the gaming as any, like, not an unhealthy amount, but like as any normal boy would be into gaming. Like if all my friends are hopping in a Fortnite lobby, I'll play Fortnite with them. But like I just fixated on like getting the latest and greatest PC and turning up all the graphics, and also like running AI. Downloading an LLM and running AI. But like I don't know, it like a month ago it was like RC planes. And then a month before that it was guns, and then a month before that it was like, I mean, I rode motorcycles my whole life, but then like I really rode every single day for like a month straight. I don't know. It's just like I have something that I can go do and hang out with myself, and I don't even need to rely on my friends. I can just go hang out with myself and enjoy myself. Like I get so like every day I like wake up and I'm like, can't wait to go build this PC. Like, and I lose sleep over it.
I saw this clip from Jon Stewart this morning, and I thought it was really good. And he was talking about how he was doing Trevor Noah's podcast, and he said, he used to be really into drugs, right? And in the 90s, he had like a big drug problem, which honestly I didn't really realize that he did, which all of a sudden makes the his statement in Chappelle's episode of like so much funnier or more real.
I don't know any of these people.
Do you know Jon Stewart?
I'm so.
This is great.
I don't consume anything.
This is the cultural break. Okay, so
I don't consume anything. Like even in my culture, like I don't.
Yeah. That's amazing. Okay, so Jon Stewart runs a show called The Daily Show, which is like a kind of, it was started as a fake news show.
Oh wait, is that the person that drills people for car payments?
No. He's on like Comedy Central or was.
Okay.
And basically his show is like a satire satire news show on politics, right?
Okay.
But in the beginning it was a satire show like 20 years ago. And it eventually actually became, for millennials, it became like their source of news. Like Jon Stewart became like the number one source of news for like millennials, right? And anyway, I'll get to the point, but I do. It's such a crazy disconnect to be like, oh, wow, you don't know who I'm talking about. And then Trevor Noah took over the show for him later on.
I get that all the time. Even with
it's fine. It's fine. But anyway, he said this thing, and I get back to what you were saying. He said that, he used to smoke a ton of weed, did other drugs, and because when he was really busy, everything was good. But when he slowed down, life got bad. Right. And like, I feel that way often with things. Yeah. And he got into woodworking, and
I was so into woodwork. I have every damn Milwaukee tool.
Yeah. I love woodworking too. All of the French cleats in the background that are there. Like I built all that one weekend because I just decided I need it. My dad was into woodworking, but his point was that hobbies are like the one thing that turns the noise down. Like if you have that noise in your head, a hobby does it in the same way that drugs do, but without the hangover and without the bad results and without making bad decisions. That like really good hobbies can just suck you into something for 4 or 5 hours where you don't think about all the bad things in the world. You don't think about the noises or the voices in your head. You just get to do the hobby. And I thought about that this morning, and I was like, man, it's so true. And I think the most unhappy times of my life is when I haven't had hobbies to like do. And like hearing you, it's like that's the thing you go to, and like it makes sense, like
maybe it's a dude thing, but yeah.
I think I don't know if it's a gender thing. I think that it goes both directions. For me, it's an ADHD thing. I swap out different hobbies every month. Like I keep joking.
Do you ever fixate so hard on a task that you even forget to take a piss?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then like 5 hours later, you're like, holy shit, I didn't know I to take a piss so bad.
I will forget. So you have ADHD as well, or you think?
I went to go get tested for it. Apparently I don't, but I think that's bullshit.
You may have a different thing that's similar. Maybe there's something else in that.
Yeah, I went to go get officially tested.
But for me, I have been in situations where I forget to feed myself, and it'll be like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'll feel horrible. My wife will be like, "Did you eat today?"
Or drink water.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No. You know. So yeah, that hyperfixation is fantastic when you need to get things done, but it can also be really, really dangerous. But if you have nothing to fixate on, that's when like the mind does.
Then
the
you're
thing.
depressed.
Yeah, and you get depression. So hobbies fill that in if instead of like mind altering substances. Anyway, I thought it was a really interesting thing. I just read it this morning, and I was like, that is true. Like the hobby is that thing that if you have enough hobbies, it fills in the world for other vices, right? Like, because it's something to do. Unless your hobby is vices, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, learning how to just hang out with myself is like, just spend time by yourself without relying on friends, without having to like go find girls or. I'm not single now, but like, when I was single, like having to worry about girls, like I think that's unhealthy. And like, if you can truly learn how to just be with yourself, then yeah. I mean, I've been married for 10 plus years. So, I've been in a relationship for 10 plus years, my wife, and married for, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something. So that like part of my life is completely gone. But I forget how pretty recent for me,
but I forget how consuming that is in your 20s. Like that is something you always think about. So yeah.
Having hobbies helps too, like a lot of girls, I mean, if a lot of young single guys are watching this, like making a hobby and like having something to focus on, like girls like that, I feel like.
Yeah, because like it's better than just drinking on the weekends.
Yeah, it's better than just drinking and like going after girls. Yeah, if they see that like you're really passionate about something. I don't know. I'm not a girl, so I don't know. But yeah.
Do you feel like cars is a lifelong hobby for you?
Yeah. Any hobby that I made, I think, when like really my frontal lobe was developing, it was gonna be a lifetime hobby. So like, motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
I got my dirt bike when I got like the week I got diagnosed with the brain tumor. Like the number one thing I wanted was a motorcycle. So of course my mom went and got me a Honda CR90, I think CRF90, which by the way magically got stolen. And I think I still to this day think it was my mom who just threw it away in the garbage can. But she's like, she's gonna take that to the grave.
She's like, this is gonna kill him faster than the tumor.
Yeah. So yeah, I think she threw that away in the garbage, but I think she's gonna take that to the grave.
Yeah.
But yeah. So going back to what I was saying.
Can I ask you a quick question on the tumor thing? When your mom found out it was benign, is that when she told you that it was, or did you find out about this later on in life?
I remember Dr. Finlay of the Children's Hospital telling me, "Hey, I think your tumor is benign," and my mom like lighting up on her face. I'll remember that moment, and I think that's how I found out.
But you didn't really know it.
But I was like, "Oh, it's benign. I thought it was benign. Whatever. I thought I had a disease. It's gonna be cured."
Yeah. Okay.
Well, my mom never lost hope, so she was like, "My tumor, it's pretty chunky. It's like 25 millimeters by 25 millimeters by 20." So
they never removed it,
and it's like right in the middle. I don't know how the brain works, but it's like right in the middle of the brain. Like you would have to, like, it's not like a tumor. A lot of tumors are on the like up against the dura, but like it's like here, and like here. It's like right in the middle. And I guess like even a biopsy was too dangerous because it's so deep in there, and to figure out what it was. So we still don't know what it is for sure, but even a biopsy was too dangerous. And my mom was always like, "Oh, there's like technology here and there," and like. We did a tour of hospitals, like a tour of American hospitals, like Texas, New York,
Kettering.
I don't know the names, but
my mom worked at Memorial Sloan Kettering. She's a research scientist. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, like a tour of hospitals around the world, but the best Korean hospitals, the best like American hospitals. I mean, luckily my mom was in a financial standpoint to do so, which I'm grateful for. But yeah, I just didn't know what was going on. I was just like,
that's probably better that way. I was
12. Yeah. I have no trauma from it. I have no emotional thing from it. I was just like, oh. And then life kind of, it was like a humbling experience after that, because like people started treating me a little differently. And I was like, oh, I guess people aren't so nice to me after all.
That part.
A lot of like teachers, like I went to school that one year. But my mom told me that I can show up whenever. So I kind of got used to that, and I just show up to school like during like the fun hours, like the PE hours, and I'm like, all right, our history class, I want to leave now. So I really did that, and then all the teachers knew that, I think, or they knew that, I know that. But like let me do whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Like I tooled around school, and yeah, being exposed to that for like a year and then coming back to reality was tough, I think. So that, if anything, that was the toughest part, was coming back to reality after like having all the sympathy from everyone around you for a year.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And then like having my dirt bike be mysteriously stolen.
Are you dirt biking now? Do you have a?
Yeah. But like that, going back to what I was saying, that is a hobby that I think a lot of hobbies that you develop before your frontal lobe develops is gonna
Well, technically, you're 26. Your frontal lobe like finished developing maybe like a few months ago, right? Isn't it 25 that you fully develop?
But I feel like it's like 80%, 90% of it is like 0 to 15, and then the 15 to 20 is like the last little bit. Like it's like a electric car charging.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
But yeah, that's like in the early stages of my frontal lobe developing. So it's motorcycles, cars. Yeah.
What's the next car for you? Do you have something in mind, or are you kind of just enjoying what you have?
No, after the P1, no, I don't know. There's not a hypercar I care for. It was like really, that was like the car that I really needed.
Yeah.
I shouldn't, like not making as the income that I used to make, it kind of feels a little rougher to, I mean, I have investments, but now I do, but like it's kind of feels a little bit more wrong to make large purchases because you're just like not making income. Like paying my credit card, I never had to like pull money out of a brokerage account to pay my credit card. I just like whatever I made, I just threw into our credit card, and then whatever was left over,
Right.
So I'm not like fixated on making large purchases. Go back to your question. I don't know. I want to buy a lot of those like fun cars that are worthless that that I don't care about if I leave it parked overnight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you from my side, you forgot some of the names of the hypercars you owned, but you completely lit up talking about a Miata.
Yeah.
So maybe the really nice stuff isn't what brings you the happiness. I've learned that. I mean, not that this is anywhere near P1, but like I don't drive this. I have way more fun driving my shit boxes.
Yeah, it's just so hard to do it in California.
Yeah.
Like every year my registration bill's like $30,000. Just from registration, and like my insurance on every car is like, so half the cars I don't even put insurance on.
Yeah.
I just don't drive it.
Yeah. Or just turn it on when you need to drive.
Yeah, exactly. And then you need to give them a month-long grace period for it to even turn on. And
that's how my 911 is, because I don't drive it enough. So when I need to drive it, I'm like, oh, I got to turn the insurance back on. I just keep fire and theft on it.
Yeah. No, like once, like I would love to like retire when I have kids and then move somewhere else where I can have cars like that, and I can buy a billion cars and pay $20 a month to register it. And then,
when did you move to California?
When I was 10.
Okay.
Yeah. My mother retired in 2008, and then I think 08. No, 09. She didn't retire. She sold her company, and then and
you guys moved here from South Korea, or
from South Korea?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you bounced around, because you said you lived in Europe for a bit and stuff like that.
Oh no, that was when she was working.
Okay.
So part of her work, we did so much traveling. Like I was barely in South Korea, and then like she would be stationed at like Japan for like 3 months to like build a system there. She is in IT, so like early stages of IT, internet technology. So I went and lived in Qatar for like 3 months because she was building a system there, and then so in that sense, I lived kind of everywhere, and I was like barely in school. But yeah, so that's how I jumped around. But ever since I came to California, my mother retired, and then I stopped traveling. And then all the traveling that I've done was like on my own, like for me, not because I had to follow my parents around.
Yeah. If you weren't to live in California, where would you live now?
It's definitely not anywhere but America.
Yeah.
I love
because of the air conditioning, which we don't have in this garage right now. 2.5 hours in.
Not any worse than a random restaurant in London though. So
yeah,
I'm pretty used to it.
Eating hot Indian food, sweating both ways.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just in Korea too, and in the summer, it was awful. I love that the people here like stand behind the Constitution. It's so funny. and it's amazing. Like the right to bear arms, it's so funny. But like it's cool, you know. Like where else can you go? You can own a bunch of guns, you know. Like thank you, America.
Guns,
And like there's nowhere where like you have like rights like America. I feel like you have all these, and you get pulled.
It's interesting to hear you say it, because as an American, we feel like a lot of our rights are disappearing. But I guess when you come from other places, you're like, yeah, there's still a lot of rights still here.
Like you're if you try to film a cop in Japan, you're going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you can't just film a cop and anywhere else in the world but America. So I love not taking that for granted and just being here and knowing all that. So yeah, for answer your question, definitely America. I don't know, just somewhere where I can like. I feel like the next chapter in life after I finish working is gonna be raising kids. So I don't know, wherever I feel like is fit for raising kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you this is a question we kind of ask a lot of Californians, is like, do you feel like that the car culture in California is in a good place, a bad place? You know, obviously there's a lot of crackdown from CHP and getting state refed and all these kind of things. But as someone who has gotten to experience car culture in a lot of places, like, do you still feel like California is, you know, one of the peak places, or is there somewhere else now that you see?
I mean, I'm not really in a culture, I feel like. Like, I'm not really, like, going out to constantly meet new people. I'm always just in my own circle as far as cars go. So, I guess it doesn't affect me as much. Like, if I move to Montana, as an example, then, like, I'm still going to have the same friends.
Right.
To answer your question about culture from the cultural standpoint of like going to meets and stuff, absolutely California is like top tier. And is it moving for the better or worse? I don't know, but I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know.
That's a fair answer.
I'm always trying to push for like fairness and like, hey, not all car people are takeover kids. So I'm always trying to point that out, and it's really.
I mean, I would say the majority is not takeover kids. The majority are just guys who enjoy wrenching on cars and building stuff.
It's
and
really
going to the track or going to Cars and Coffee or whatever, you know.
It's really refreshing meeting cops that know that and like have that difference. Like one of my closer friends is in the Hayward area, CHP, and there's a lot of takeover stuff, and he like knows cars like he's like an encyclopedia of cars. So he knows that, and he's a motor officer, and he's a CHP. So like his job is to go out and do enforcement actions, and I know that he's not gonna like go out and state ref a beautifully built, I don't know, something.
Whatever, NSX or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So he knows that. So it's refreshing to know that, and I always tell him like, hey man, like spread your knowledge. Go tell your folks. Well,
I think there's an element too where like. There's this moment comes where the car community like almost has to start like policing itself on a level, because it's like otherwise it all goes away. It's like you have to kind of figure those things out and be like, all right, hey, like we either have to as a group like be good about figuring out how to fix problems, and it happened for a while in the street racing community when I was younger. I mean, Toronto had like a really good like legal street race community. They obviously did it out here in Long Beach. So like there's ways to do it. It just means that sometimes it's like you got to put the work in.
I wish more car people became cops. Like if I try to push that a lot.
Most of my cop friends are car people or were car people. Like, I think there is a big transition there. Like, I have definitely
most cops are not.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe your circle, because my circle is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my circle of cop friends are all car people.
Yeah.
But I from my experience doing ride-alongs and meeting other cops outside of cars, there's a lot of my cop friends I met through cars, but like outside of, I don't think they know jack shit about, besides like the knowledge that they have to know. Yeah.
It always depends. I remember one time I got pulled over. I was driving the brand new Camaro when it first came out. So we're talking 2005. They re-released the new Camaro, and it's like the biggest deal. Everyone's buzzing about it. It's like, Bumblebee, Transformers.
There's a good chase down one time right now.
I can see the dopamine hit. You're like, can he wrap this up real quick? I could be there.
No. But that's the group chat that I was talking about. It's like that. Yeah.
But
Sorry about that.
No. It's great. The live in action right there. But I got pulled over by this cop on the New Jersey Turnpike. I was doing like 95. And in New Jersey, 95 is going pretty fast. Like in the 405, the 95 is like the speed limit, I feel like. But in New Jersey, like you're like, 30 miles an hour over.
Okay.
You can like lose your license and whatever.
Yeah.
And the cop pulls me over and he walks up. And I'm thinking, like, I am driving a car that is not currently in the dealership. It is a pre-production vehicle from General Motors. And no, he's probably never seen one before. And I literally thought he pulled me over just to see the car. And he walks up and he's like, what kind of car is this? I was like, oh, it's the new Camaro. And he's like, huh? Oh, all right. And then once he said that, I was like, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Once I realized he was not one of us, I was like, oh, I'm fucked. And he wrote me a pretty serious ticket. But then the other time I got pulled over in my 72 Nova. Cop pulled me over on Lincoln Boulevard in Venice. And cop said to me, he's like, hey, pop the hood. I was like, hey, it's a pre-smog car. It doesn't really matter what's under my hood. He's like, yeah, it does. I want to see what you got. He's like, I'm not writing you a ticket. He's like, I just want to see what it is. And we popped the hood, and then me and him just sat there and chatted about big blocks for like 20 minutes, So, you get different situations.
When I say like I wish more car people became cops, it's not because it part of it is, I wish there were more cooler cops out there, but I genuinely also think that like having car knowledge also like translates into like extremely good policing. You just have to like not get too many tickets and not get in trouble before you're 21 as a car guy, because that's pretty tough to do when you're a car guy and you're just fucking speeding around everywhere. But as long as you make it through that plateau, not get in trouble, like, oh my gosh, like car guys make the most badass, like especially like in LAPD Metro divisions, like their SWAT and stuff, like some of the most badass guys. I'm like, what do you drive? And he's like, oh, I just bought a new 400Z. I'm like,
sick.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Well, I actually think one of them to come follow shows that's going to follow this up is a buddy of mine who is on autocrime in LA Sheriff's Department. I texted him something, and it was this cop who posted. He was a retired traffic cop, and it was this podcast clip, and he was talking about how, I salivate when I pull over, a car that has all these mods. I just can't wait to write them 15 tickets. And the comment is just mostly car enthusiasts being like, this is why there's a problem between us and the police department. Like, this sucks, right? Yeah. And I sent it to him, and I said, because he like runs the. They've got the sheriff like drag race team, and they do a lot of stuff in like community outreach, and like they really are car guys, and they're trying to like educate in that space, right? Yeah. And I think that they're very much allies in like what we're trying to do. Yeah. I sent it to him, and I was like, hey, shit like this is really bad, and he was like, hey, let me come on the podcast and like talk about this. I was like, oh, maybe I will. Maybe bring you on and kind of chat about it. But that being said, I want to bring something up. Now that you're doing a lot of this,
by the way, sorry to cut you off. If you're willing and if they're willing, like there's some interesting police officers that I would love for you to chat with.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, if they're willing. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to be willing, and they also have to be able to speak freely.
Yeah.
Sometimes the problem is you bring someone in and they're so like message trained that it's not a good conversation, right? So like that's always a difficult one. Or we're gonna have to do it like Vice magazine style, and they're gonna have to like wear a mask or something. Have them in like a cop mask for whatever, and they can do that. But let me ask you a question on the flip side of that. Like, do you get a lot of hate from people who are like really just anti-cop and who are like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so blocked on Instagram by so many people.
Oh really?
Yeah. And like, fuck, a lot of people hate cops. Yeah. It's pretty sad, but a lot of people hate cops. And it's because they have that experience. Like most cops are like,
I've had both chill. Really good and really bad experiences with cops. I know it, and I have family members who are cops and good friends who are cops. But I've also had bad. I was 17 years old. I got pulled out of the window of my car, by a cop and thrown on the floor because they thought my car was stolen. It wasn't. I just had a temporary license plate. But and they treated me like shit until they found out. And it's one of those things where that was that was the first time I ever got pulled over. So of course I was 17. I'm like, fuck these dudes. But, then I had other good situations. I got pulled over once doing 130 miles an hour on the LIE, should have gone to jail. And instead the cop told me that he was going to call, my girlfriend was in the passenger seat. And he's like, instead of going to jail, I'm going to call your girlfriend's dad and tell him what you're doing. And I was like, fuck. Because this dude,
Just give me the ticket.
By the way, this girl's dad was a Hell's Angel. I was like, I don't think I really want you to call him. I don't think this is gonna be I don't think this is gonna end well for me. So,
that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the cops have to, as part of like doing their job, they have to be a prick, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I tell people like, hey, don't discriminate. Like, there's good ones. There's plenty of good ones out there. And there's plenty of terrible ones. I've complained. I've written complaints to, like on the flip side of all this, like. From a cop standpoint, if you're a citizen who wrote a complaint, you're an op to them. If you filed a complaint, you're an op.
I could see
that.
like
got a cop investigated. And like sometimes, you know, I've had like a legitimate reason, like, hey, your ass needs to get investigated. You're fucking corrupt. This is not what you should be doing. And I've written a couple of complaints which gotten sustained and ended up in you know, disciplinary action. And I hope no cop that's watching this and make, oh, all right, fuck this guy. I'm gonna quit
Now
this
you're
podcast.
the op.
Yeah, now you're the op. But like on the flip side, yeah, like just people are people, right? And you can't discriminate. Like you can't be racist to one race just because, you know, it's a terrible experience with one race.
Stereotype everything.
Exactly. So I don't think people should stereotype cops. And yeah, man, the whole reason why I really do those ride-alongs with CHP also is like I really hope a lot of my followers sign up and like go through.
How did that? Because we started talking about that and we jumped off and we never got to it. How did that start working out that you're doing CHP ride-alongs and what does that look like?
It's just one person I got connected with up there, and like he was like, hey, like, you know, our recruitment standards have gone down. We really need better people on the job. And I'm a car guy. You're a car guy, and I think a lot of car guys make great cops. And then he explained to me why he thinks that a lot of car guys make great cops, and it makes so much sense. And now I'm a believer in that. And I'm like, how can I help? And he's like, well, you have millions of viewers, and you get your videos get millions of views. What if you just make our job look awesome to all these car people that follow you? And you know that'll help our recruitment. And I'm like, done. Let's do it.
Do you know that the sheriff's department has a racetrack in Santa Clarita?
Yeah.
That they use for testing?
Yeah.
They used to let us go up there and drive there. It was pretty sick.
That's sick,
we made friends with the sheriff's department in
Evolve,
Compton, and they were like, yeah, it's up at the prison up there. And they were like, you know, we have a racetrack. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, come drive it. It was sick. So we just went up there and we just go drifting up there at the cop track. So.
I love cops that like love cars. I mean, also like if you think about it, like 90% of your job is driving. Mm-hmm. You're in a cop car all day, unless you're an office detective or whatever.
And you get to legally speed, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's better than
Can't beat him, join him.
It's better than being an Uber driver.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not just you know advertising being a police officer here, but like it is so fun.
Is it something you think you would do?
I just have to. I genuinely would. And
You just have to get that takeover ticket expunged.
No, it is expunged. No, I think I qualify. I mean,
Yeah.
the only reason why I don't think I would qualify is because of what I posted on social media, like my past. Maybe in 10 years they'll be like, oh, it's 10 years ago, whatever. But or 20 years ago. But yeah, right now I don't think, because of what's out there and like the reputation that these police departments need to uphold and like making sure everyone's there is a professional.
But it sounds like you do actually
And
have a
not
lot of
dipshit.
regret around all of that.
I do, yeah, 100%. Oh, 100%. I think there's a lot of people in your age right now would not have, you know, are got off lucky because you didn't grow up with social media. And I bet your ass if people your age had social media, like you would have the most terrible track record because all your dipshit activities would have been posted.
The greatest thing about my generation was that we didn't really get that kind of technology until we sort of all grew up.
Think about how many.
I didn't have my first phone that had a camera in it until I was almost 30.
Yeah, and and think about how many of you or yourself or even your friends would have incriminated themselves or made terrible reputations online.
Yeah.
If you had social media, you know. So I don't think they would hire me or accept me because of that. I have a clean criminal record.
Yeah.
So my criminal record's fine. I have a clean driving record, and my driving record's squeaky clean. But like one Google search and 10 years facing felony federal prison, like, you know.
Oh, I did your Google search before you came in just to see what would pop up, and I told you it's like controversial automotive enthusiast federal charges. Yeah.
If it weren't for that, I probably would have joined the academy. Right now, actually, I would have joined the academy. I think about that all the time. Like right now, it's out of the question because all the social media stuff is so fresh. But like ever since like September, I stopped working as hard, and I told myself I'm going to take a break. Like I would have taken this time to join the academy, and whether I'd do it for a year or two, probably would have quit honestly, or join a reserve status. If that department that I joined allowed a reserve status. Most departments don't, but I would have 100%. And like, my hopes was not only to enjoy myself and my time on this earth, or, to do the right thing, but also like, I hope that there's a lot of changes I want to make in the system. Like example being make DUIs not take 6 hours for LAPD officers. I don't know the logic of why it takes 6 hours to write a dues as an LAPD officer, but like I would have loved to be in a position of power to like change stuff like that, and be in a circle of friends where, my academy graduate mate or my classmate is like all of a sudden, fast forward 20 years, a lieutenant, and he has power to change stuff like that. And I can like maybe convince him or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, like that would have been the ultimate end goal for joining.
Yeah.
And also like, there's not really much a civilian does where they're put in a high stress, like do rather than think scenario than car guys do while they're hauling ass in the canyons, I feel like. And that helps a lot, I think, in high stress situations that you have to deal with in policing is like, and driving too, like so many cops wreck their cars and like,
yeah. I mean, look, a lot of cops give a reason for why they get into, officer involved shootings is because they talk about their, it was a chase and their stress levels are high. And that's kind of one of the things that like put them in that position. Yeah. And I get that for like an average person, but I watch some of these chases and I'm like, you're not really going that fast. like I get that it's stressful, but it's different
they've never
someone who has spent a lot of time driving quickly, on track.
Every car guy has hauled ass.
Yeah.
Like there's no denying it. There's no way you don't like cars unless you're like someone that's doing it for the clout. But like there's no way you like cars that actually like cars and you're not like you haven't done triple digit speeds.
Yeah.
But yeah, that for sure helps. And like if Chris Harris became a cop, imagine the ability that Chris Harris would have if like being able to be in a pursuit and like calmly talk on the radio. He already has that ability and he's never even gone through academy.
I need to cast him in a film where we make him a cop.
Yeah, and I bet he would be if a man can power slide a P1 and narrate a TV show, you can also be in a high speed chase.
I mean, he can power slide a Carrera GT, which is a very difficult thing and still talk
and narrate.
Yeah.
And if you have that ability, then you also have the ability to broadcast your location while properly and in a clear way and be in a high speed chase.
By the way, this is a really good concept for a movie. The cops go and recruit from old race car drivers and old journalists.
I have so much faith in race car drivers. Like I do. They would make great fucking cops. Yeah.
Oh, I've been in rally car drivers are the craziest. You constantly feel like you're crashing, and they are as calm as can be. Like we've done.
How did you meet Ken? By the way, I wanted to ask you this.
Yeah, so I was a magazine journalist. I did a magazine called 0 to 60, but before that, I did a magazine called Rides, which was like a hip hop car mag. It was like competition for like Dub magazine.
Okay.
26-inch rims, and spinners.
Yeah.
You remember Donks?
Yeah.
So I was the first person to ever put a donk in a magazine, and then I put it in Rides, and then we did a spin-off of that called Donk Box and Bubble. It wasn't my culture, but it was really it was like an enjoyable thing to go and watch and see and kind of like, experience it all. But Gumball Rally was still really, really big in the early 2000s. It was 2005. And the magazine wanted to go on Gumball Rally. We'd gotten word that Rob Dyrdek was going to go. And this is before Rob Dyrdek had Fantasy Factory and before he had Robin Big. So he was still just a pro skateboarder. And we were looking to branch out from just hip hop. So it was like, let's bring some skateboarders in. I made a phone call to people at DC, said, hey, we'd love for you guys to send some photos. over. Long story short, they got back to me and said, hey, actually, one of the founders of the company is going along with Rob, and he's got an extra seat in his car. Do you want to go? But if you want to go, you need to be in Trafalgar Square tomorrow. So I headed to JFK, got on a plane, flew to London, and met Ken and rode with him on the Gumball Rally, which was a ton of fun.
Wait, that was your first time meeting him?
Yeah.
And you did a whole ass Gumball Rally with him?
Yeah. Well, I did half and had to fly out because I had other work to do. But like,
what was he driving?
We had a 2005 STI or 2004 STI. I don't know, it was 2005.
Like, was he working with Subaru?
Yeah, he was racing for them at this point.
Oh, okay.
And it was a Crawford-built car, so it had about like 475 horsepower. So it moved, and we basically just drove through, Belgium, Germany, obviously London, and like France at like 160 miles an hour together, just on Gumball, and had a lot of conversations. And I told him, because he was like, this is fun, but like, he's like, I really just enjoy racing more. And
How is there not a single video of like Ken driving illegally on the street?
Because other than Gumball Rally, because we were pretty smart from early on saying that, this is not something that we can do.
I was really done with that, yeah.
Well, one, we were older than you. So our frontal lobes fully formed.
Yeah.
So Ken was already, Ken was 35, 36 when he started racing rally, so that's around when I met him. So he was already in his mid 30s, already sold his first, sold actually a couple companies at that point, but sold DC for a good amount. And when we started talking about Hoonigan, we were from day one, I'm going to make a reference that you will not know, but my uncle George called me and he said, when he heard about the brand we were building, and he said, you're going to have your Ozzy Osbourne moment. So like, who Ozzy is? The
guitar or the rock player.
Yeah. So there was a moment someone killed themselves listening to their album backwards, playing the Black Sabbath album backwards, right? And this moment was this moment that rocketed Black Sabbath and then Ozzy into like massive stardom because of bad news. Like everybody talked about it. But then of course every kid went out and like wanted to hear what the record sounded like played backwards, right? And it became this like sort of like phenomenon. And I think it's like late 70s or 80s. It's before my time, right? But his point was like, you guys are doing something that's dangerous, and eventually somebody is going to hurt somebody, and they are going to have a Hoonigan sticker on their car, and you are going to be woken up at 3:00 in the morning by a news team, and they're going to ask you for a comment, and you are going to need to be able to say, we never condoned that, we never did it ourselves. And we did. And that's how we ran the business. Like everybody, look, I'm not saying that the guys who worked for the company didn't street drift before Hoonigan, but there was a rule that was like, once you're on Hoonigan, like you don't do this. Like you don't go street drifting. You don't even do burnouts in the street. So like even when we were doing like Power Tour, everybody from the Motor Trend crew was like doing burnouts and we weren't.
Do you think they did?
So what's up?
Do you think they did?
What?
Do dumb shit on the street? Like people that worked with you?
It was a pretty hard and fast rule for us. So like, look, do I think they did when people weren't watching? Yeah, it was definitely something that everyone knew never to film in post, right? So, because like that was the model was like, there was this term back when I was into skateboarding. It was called "Skateboarding is not a crime," and they made these stickers about it, right? And then when we launched Hoonigan, we had "Hooning's not a crime," and the idea behind it was that the actual act of hooning and sliding a car around and doing burnouts and whatever is not a crime. Doing it on public streets or doing it in a place where you don't have permission is. And drawing that separation was really important in the world of skateboarding, because early on all skateboarders were seen as criminal, even if they weren't committing crimes, because it was just like, oh, you're doing something that we see as illegal. And this was the way that skateboarding pushed themselves out of a subculture that was entirely built around sort of like people destroying property to eventually there being a skate park in every city. Right.
And the Olympics.
Yeah. So we saw it the same way. And because remember, like things are different now, but like when this first started, like a lot of racetracks still didn't allow drifting. Right. Like, Laguna Seca only started allowing drifting recently at Lime Rock and places like that. Yeah. Grid Life is the ones that brought that there. Oh, wow. But for the longest time, like a lot of tracks didn't allow drifting. It was like hard to go to places like that. So a big part of our message early on was like, we need to stay absolutely on the legal side of this so that we can really push and like sort of lobby for more access for this. And look, eventually we brought, donuts and burnouts to SEMA with like the, burn yard out front situation and like, and doing all of that. So
was that Hoonigan's?
yeah, we did.
deal
We did it.
Wow.
We did it with Hoonigan and SEMA. So, so for us, I think we always had sort of this business minded element that like there was going to be somebody who took what we did and did it the wrong way. And we needed to be able to sit there and say that like, hey, this is nothing we ever condoned. So I wish you and I would have had a conversation when you were 16, but I didn't know you then. I literally met you like 3 hours ago. So, but yeah. And look, I mean, obviously, like I said, when we were watching you from the outside, I understood what you were doing, but I was also like, ooh, this isn't great for everybody, but we had you on Hoonigan. We brought you on to do this versus that, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't there that day, but I remember. Yeah. Because there was definitely the conversation of like, oh, is he too controversial? And I was like, not if he's bringing a car to come race us on the track. Like, there's nothing wrong there. It's totally legal. So, but
I mean, I hope in 10 years, kind of people forget about it, but nobody ever will, sadly. And I just have to I feel like live with that sentence for the rest of my life. But I don't know. Maybe I can do the next big thing, and people kind of be like, oh, really? He had that past? But, okay, but whatever. Now I know him as this person.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people out there. I think because you had so much eyeballs on you, everything that you were doing felt exponentially bigger, right? And I also think that there's a lot of people who weren't watching what you were doing. They were just hearing what you were doing, right? You actually reminding me the Tesla jump wasn't you. I was like, oh, I actually knew that, but I kind of forgot about it because the Tesla jump is just associated with your name. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's that thing. So I think,
people come up to me at least once a week asking me what happened to my Tesla? And I'm like, what Tesla? And they're like, the one you jumped. And I'm like,
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those, we look, but that being said, I don't know, man, if I built the company when I was 16, probably be a lot different, So I was pretty wild until I was in my early 20s. But because I worked in the business early on, you had no choice but to be whatever. But I'll tell you this: most journalists in the magazine era were committing crimes every day in cars. It still is. You listen, I don't want to name names, but you listen to any podcast with a journalist, and they're like, I was doing 130 miles an hour on whatever, and you're like, you just snitched on yourself.
Doug DeMuro.
Any one of them, and it's like I actually think Hoonigan was probably the least crime committing group of enthusiasts because we had a magnifying glass on us because of the type of attitude and style we had and that energy that everyone was just expecting it. So because of that, we couldn't get caught.
Has anyone ever told you all these people dying from doing stupid shit on the street is your fault?
I've had people say you guys are, a big influence in the space. And I was like,
Takeovers.
And I was like, I get that. I can understand an argument for it. But if you actually watched our content, if you actually were a part of it, we were pretty adamant about don't do stupid shit. Even in Hoonigan, if you left, there were big signs that were don't do shit on the street. Don't fuck it up for the rest of us. Because we looked at it as we love the hobby of cars. Just don't do it on the street, But, I get that there's that connection there. I just, for me, I don't know. There's all it's the same way of saying Fast and Furious caused a bunch of street race deaths. So it's or street outlaws. Or
still in LA City, if you get charged with any sort of DUI, street racing, takeover crimes, misdemeanors, the DA will push this program on you where you either go to the morgue and look at dead bodies, or if it's a lesser crime, then you can listen to this PowerPoint. And at the end of the PowerPoint, there's a survey, and there's a whole section on that survey about did Fast and Furious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did Fast and Furious, and this is officially sanctioned by the LA City.
Yeah.
Did Fast and Furious cause you to act this way? Did Fast and Furious affect you? What part of Fast and Furious affected you? And there's a whole section on Fast and Furious.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
I know this because I had to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had to, the 3 times I got in trouble was the fireworks, takeover, spectating takeover, and street racing. I was just caught doing 70 on a 35 with somebody else next to me. I just launched it from a light. I wasn't 3, 2, 1, go, but there was a UCLA police officer behind me. And he saw the whole thing and then pulled me over. I was also 18. This is a month after I also got arrested.
Right.
And then part of that was doing this lecture, and I had to get lectured by this city worker that like lost a daughter to a street racer. And then at the end of there's like a fat survey or test, and there's like a whole Fast and Furious section. And I'm like, I wonder if Universal Pictures is aware of this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I saw the direct effect of Fast and Furious as a kid, so like it definitely was there, right? But I don't think it was their intention. I mean, they're making it's this weird blurry line because look, every time that we try to convince a city to allow us to film a Gymkhana, their number one concern is that there's going to be copycats, right? And it's interesting because they don't sometimes worry if there's going to be copycats from movies. So it's like, oh, you're filming a Jason Statham film, no one's concerned about it. But when we're filming it, they are, right? It's like an interesting blurred line because what we're making is, even though all the driving and everything is real, it's like a fictionary story of like someone tearing through a city, right? And like that's why
you should say like you're not going to let them film John Wick because if gangsters are going to buy guns because of that.
Well, that is the conversation of that, right? But like there's a definitely they parse those differently. And we actually tried to film in San Diego 2 years ago for what eventually became the Australia film that we did with Travis Pastrana. And we tried to do a film in San Diego, and they just shut us down. And I know a big reason they shut us down is because of Blake Wilkie. And I had Blake Wilkie on. I mean, that episode came out today because he like basically stole San Diego and shot his own kind of video there. And so they already have had a copycat situation in that city, and like I get that. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely like that's not something we want to create. But at the same time, to the John Wick point, it's like I also don't want to make content. I don't want to not make content because you're just worried that everyone's going to try to emulate something, right? And it's like someone who grew up snowboarding, riding BMX, like skateboarding, like half the stuff we were doing was really dangerous. Like for how many views we've seen in the films versus like real copycats, it is like a decimal point of it, right? Like people actually went out and tried to recreate what we've done, right? And I mean, so it's like a pretty small piece. I would love
to one day too. It's like still on my bucket list. Legally.
Yeah. Well, legally is not a problem. It's the illegal part that's obviously a problem, right? So, and that's why like, when you did the Tesla jump, even though you didn't do it, but when you were involved in the Tesla jump, those are the things that scared us from the production side because we're like, this is case number one why they're going to tell us we can't do stuff in their city, right? It's things like that. So, but like, I mean, it's that you also can't be expected to be responsible for every person's decisions either. So it's a difficult one. It's a tough one. I really, really, really enjoy making stunt scenes in cities. It's a lot of fun. I want to do more of it for movies, and I want to keep doing that kind of stuff. So it's like I really enjoy it, but I also have to then be the person who's like, we do this with tons of cops and tons of safety, and if anything goes wrong, we've got ambulances on site. We know we have a medevac ready to fucking come pick us up depending on where we are. And we also have a ton of trained professionals who do this and who think this through. And it's not just like a random moment, And we've also made sure, like to give you an idea of like how things work with this. Like if we did, like, let's just say, and I know the block that you guys did the Tesla jump on. I don't know it well, but I know it. And I know there's a lot of residential on it. If we were to do that, the way we'd have to permit it, one, we'd have to close all the streets down. But two, we'd have to post a person in front of like almost every door or every causeway on that street to make sure that someone doesn't walk out. Right? Like these are the safety precautions that like you create. So it's like, I think it's always important to tell people that kind of stuff. And that's why like even like doing like we did the behind the scenes show on Amazon Prime. It's like, it's great because people are like, fuck, I didn't realize how many people were involved in doing this. And it's like, yeah, well, to do it legally and safely, it actually takes a lot of people. Like we have 100 to 140 person crew. And a lot of those people are just doing lockdown, like, what we call like lockups, which is like just to make sure that someone doesn't drive up the street or walk out of their house when we have a trophy truck, 70 feet in the air kind of thing. Yeah.
One of the neighbors came out, on a side note, came out for that Tesla jump interview when it hit the news. And he was like, I'd really appreciate it if people stopped driving their Teslas over my house. That was so funny. Because before I did that, it was David Dobrik.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And it's in his Tesla.
It's also a really big spot for dirt bikes too. because I see
Yeah,
dirt
and then
bike
it
jumps there
popped
all the
off
time.
after, and then they put like something there so people don't do it, and then like it got
Yeah.
vandalized the day after.
Yeah. What's crazy, and I don't know why this is true, but that didn't happen in San Francisco where we did the Vallejo jump.
Nobody tried to do it.
There was a motorcyclist did one like 8 years later. But I don't, and it was weird to me why that one popped off so much as a copycat situation.
Yeah.
And the one we didn't. I don't know.
I would love to one day, like have the. I don't know who to call to shut down an intersection. Maybe you can shoot me at the right direction, but like I would love to actually go through the proper procedure and do this properly and like film a Gymkhana copycat.
I mean, I can certainly point you in the right directions of how to do that stuff. I mean, I've done it a ton. And hey, maybe that's like your good. Maybe that's like your make good, your penance. You get to go do it that way and then show everyone the right way to go do it. So.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah. I mean, not even for profit.
I mean, you realize like Blake Wilkie did his first film. He went to jail for it.
Yeah,
right. And then he got out. And then every other film after that, he's done properly. He's pulled all the permits for, and he's done it the right way.
I'm in the same shoes as him.
Yeah. So clearly he shows there is a redemption route, and we had him on. I mean, and he was a young kid too, and kind of just was like, he's like, I didn't actually think we were gonna get caught because he's like, I didn't think the video was gonna do big numbers. I was like, you snitched on yourself.
I would love to do the firework thing, but properly and permitted, and then I would love to, do all the hooning crap properly and permitted.
It is a ton of fun. I mean, shooting on Gymkhana, Recoil, Climbkhana, all the films.
Is there another one coming?
I don't know. Travis signed a 3-year deal with them, or a 3-project deal with Hoonigan, and I obviously left Hoonigan after the second one. When Travis came back to do the third one, he asked me to come back and direct it with him. And I will always take an opportunity to work with Travis Pastrana. He's one of the most fun people in the world. So I obviously went back and did it, and I'm happy I did. I think Australia is one of my favorite films I ever made. We did it. We took a very different cinematic approach to it. We kind of did it more as like a Hollywood film in the way that we like scripted it. When I say script is like the wrong way to work, but just the way we built out all the scenes and how it was all put together. So I really enjoyed that, but I don't know. I don't know if there'll be another one. I don't like right now that I don't think there's any plans for it, but I don't work at Hoonigan anymore. They own when we sold Hoonigan, they also got the Gymkhana name. Didn't exactly work out the way that I thought it would. I mean, I thought Ken would still be here and we'd still be doing stuff together with his family and everything, but that didn't work out. So I don't know.
Would he have like kept working with Hoonigan?
I mean, he was still. We were both on a 5-year deal. So,
did he pass before that deal?
Yeah, he passed after 2 years. So we were 2 years. We were just 2 years into it. Yeah. And then I left 6 months after he passed. That being said, the reason that Travis Pastrana was brought in was because Ken was kind of overdoing the Gymkhana films. He was overdoing them by the 5th one, which was San Francisco. Because we thought San Francisco, which still is probably the best one we have ever done.
What's the most popular one? Which one?
San Francisco.
That's
yeah,
4?
That's 5. Yes.
5?
Yeah, Gymkhana 5. Yeah. San Francisco is Gym 5, and that has like 120 million on YouTube alone. That doesn't include like everywhere else it's been ripped and
what
Facebook
year was that?
And so on. 13 maybe, 12 or 13. Yeah, so
I think I did like a screening at my house for it.
Yeah, that was the first time that we ever did a city takeover, and it was incredible. I mean, the whole time I was there, I was pinching myself, but I was expecting the police to show up and be like, whoa, we didn't agree to this. And it never happened. Instead, a cop pulled up next to me and did a burnout in his cruiser. I was like, sick. So.
But it was all permitted, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. Everything we've done in any of those films are permitted, and so, but.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
In the next life or the other, I hope I do something like that one day.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah. Dude, this has been a really interesting conversation. I appreciate you coming and chatting and being like really open about everything you've done. And like, I'll be honest, I didn't know what was going to come out of this. We've never talked before, right? So I didn't know what was going to come out of it. And I don't know if it's just a curiosity or a morbid curiosity, but everything you do as a stringer is really interesting to me. I still don't know if I fully understand your motivation, but I get the attraction to it, which I think is interesting. And
I mean, listen, the things I would say on camera and off camera are obviously different. I'd be lying too if it wasn't. So if I can have another conversation with you.
No, but still, and I appreciate how open though you were on all of this.
Yeah,
and also like I think it's been great to kind of hear you talk about the previous controversial side of what it is. And
Yeah.
I really wasn't sure how that was going to come out. So it's kind of nice to just talk through it. So
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah. I feel like I talked about myself a little too much, but yeah. I appreciate your attention.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
man. It's been great. You got any last things? No? All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. This episode marks the end of watch for Nick Rudder, aka Producer Nick. That's right. Nick's moving on. He's going to do other things. But luckily for us, he has trained his replacement. Welcome, Producer Choi. We'll get to that next season. That's right. Nick actually stuck with me for 4 seasons of absolute chaos trying to get this show put out. And we've done it. We've been making the show for about 9 months now, which is kind of crazy. A full gestation period. Well done, Nick. Couldn't have done it without you, and I wish you luck in everything you do. But of course, we couldn't just let Nick leave. That's right. We conducted a little bit of an exit interview. Head over to the Patreon to learn a little bit more about Producer Nick. And look, I'm sure he'll be back. He just can't stay away from the chaos. Nick, thanks for everything. Couldn't have done it without you.
The mailbox is full. The mailbox is full. The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Legal disclaimer. It might actually be illegal to wear Heatwave's polarized ultra black lenses while driving. But if you spend a lot of time in violently bright conditions, like snow or in the desert, then these lenses are going to be perfect for you. Traditionally, sunglasses have an 11% VLT rating, but these are cranked all the way down to 6%. That's limo tint for your eyes. They also provide a great level of ocular privacy for when you're looking at something you shouldn't be. I'll be wearing them tonight while I'm sat next to my wife, scrolling Marketplace. Avoid being blinded at heatwavevisual.com. I'm a tool dork. My obsession might even dwarf my addiction to cars. I love collecting unique and specialty tools, which is how I initially fell in love with Wera. First off, they just make aesthetically pleasing tools. They feel good in your hand, they have a great finish, their sizes are universally color-coded, and they are super strong. In 2 decades, I've never broken a tool from Wera. I wish I could say the same about my other tools. But the thing I like the most about Wera is that they create clever solutions for your wrenching woes, because you need over-engineered tools to work on today's over-engineered cars. So if you're ready to step up your tool game, whether it's the Zyklop ratchet or the Joker wrenches, find them at weratools.com. All anyone wants to talk about nowadays is how great 90s car culture was. But what everyone forgets is how bad our slammed cars rode on crappy lowering springs. At the time, that's all my wallet could muster. But when I finally did step up and get some proper coilovers, I went for KWs and never looked back. I've been running their stuff for over 2 decades now, in everything from my 911 to my RS2. I even have a custom set in my Land Rover Discovery. And yes, that bloody thing does finally run. Anyway, check them out, kwsuspensions.com.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.